other umpire?
Martin Imamdiar.
Okay. I met him somewhere. I just don't remember where I met.
I think he was in Philly. Were you in Philly?
No, I wasn't in Philly. I think I met him in Houston, but I don't.
You're watching the Toyota Minor League Cricket Championship, presented by Sunoco.
A new era for American cricket began in 2021.
There it goes into a dive! What a catch!
The rise of cricket was celebrated across the country. Now, with big wickets and even bigger hits, the stars of minor league cricket are back and better than ever.
Primus goes huge!
Don't miss the nation's largest league competing for the biggest prize in American cricket. The Toyota Minor League Championship returns this summer, live on Willow TV.
The marvelous Church Street Park, ladies and gentlemen, we are back in this 2022 Toyota Minor League Cricket Championship, and it's the business end of this fantastic, successful tournament, where after 8 long weekends and enticing action, we're down to just 8 teams remaining, of course, fighting for that coveted trophy. These 2 teams out of the Atlantic Conference is the New Jersey Stallions, winners of the Eastern Conference, up against the Morrisville Raptors, the home team, but the team that finished second in the Southern Division. Today, 2 matches, a doubleheader coming your way. The first one starting at noon Eastern, and the second, a night game at 6 p.m. And of course, tomorrow, if required, we'll start at 11 a.m. Well, Aman Patel, it's been fantastic in terms of the action that we've had, you know, overall in terms of the cricket. What have you made of the action at Church Street Park in terms of how conditions have played to favor the Raptors?
Yeah, they've just been so good in those late game situations. It always feels at Church Street Park it's going to come down to the end, especially under the lights. I think last week you got your own taste of that when we saw it on July 4th weekend. And when we consistently see that, it just makes you feel the team that's been through that situation multiple times, they've tried, they've been tested, they're going to come out on the right end.
Yeah, well, when you look at the 2 teams, many will wonder, the Raptors obviously coming second in the Southern Division. They would have come second, but the fact that the Stallions have elected to use Church Street Park as their home venue, winning the Eastern Division is an interesting decision, but a team that's played here, remember, in 2021 at finals weekend, and they feel comfortable at these conditions. Of course, the other semi-final happening across the country, the Atlanta Fire taking on the Manhattan Yorkers. The decision by the Stallions, though, to choose Church Street Park as the home venue is a very interesting one. Aman Patel. Earlier we had the captains, Dane Pete, as well as Jasdeep Singh, fresh from international duty. And the toss won very crucially by Pete, the home captain, who elected to bowl first. And you can see the excitement after winning the toss. He was all smiles, Dane Pete. And the record of teams chasing at this venue tells you why. Well, of course, every weekend he's going to join us on commentary a bit later today, Nate Hayes. But he's been so fantastic with his insight and analysis from the MLC Network. Nate, crucial weekend, just 8 teams remaining. Who's it going to be, the Raptors or the Stallions?
Nick, this is what we've been waiting for. The minor league cricket playoffs are finally here, and this best-of-3 conference semifinal between the Morrisville Raptors and the New Jersey Stallions starts right now. This is a rematch of last year's conference semifinal, the only rematch in the league this round, but the Stallions hope they can repeat as conference champs. Once again, the Stallions are built around dominant bowling, and Jesse Singh has several effective options with Manoj Acharya, Sachin Mailavarapu, and Ray Remratan, the standout bowlers this year. The Stallions' batting is heavily reliant on Anthony Bramble and Dominic Rickey, so the Raptors will want early wickets for sure. Morrisville also lean a lot on their stars, Lahiro Malantha and Obas Pianar, both ranked in the top 6 in the league in total impact for batters and top 10 for players overall. Statistically speaking, the Raptors have the edge with the bat, but the Stallions have a bigger edge with the ball. The Raptors are home, but the Stallions played very well here last year. Nikhil, this is a very tight matchup, so winning game 1 is going to be crucial.
Well, you heard it. Winning game 1 because it's a best-of-3 series. The New Jersey Stallions, a team that finished runners-up in 2021. And they've got tons of experience, tons of first-class experience with Anthony Bramble. They've also got Nino Nicholas Henry, who's come in from half the season. And, of course, the international players of Sateja Mukamala, Jasdeep Singh. And don't count out Dominic Ricky, who's making a good comeback this year.
Yeah, the Stallions, they're led by a lot of really good pieces, but when you look at the Morrisville Raptors, they've been heavily reliant with the bat, like Nate Hayes was saying, on Lahiru Malanta, on Obis PNR, but with the ball in hand, Sivakumar Duvarapu is going to be big. Rohan Phadke, who's in for Sanjay Stanley, presumably to bat at number 3, also going to have a big day with the ball. Dane Pete and Obis PNR, also the 2 spinners, going to be crucial on this natural turf wicket at Church Street Park.
And speaking about importance, you look at this man on screen, Anthony Bramble, because he's been so destructive in this 2022 edition, and he can really cause some problems for this Raptors team with the power that he possesses. 374 runs. He's striking at over 150 in this tournament, and he can really make a difference for the Stallions if he gets away and gets off to a good start.
They also talk about a high score of 80 runs. We've seen him win innings for the New Jersey Stallions, win matches. So he's such an important bat. And when we talked about up top the order, they need those big performances. And Dominic Ricky, he's been so good as well. 435 runs in 14 innings this season, 116 strike rate, 62 high score. But like you said, he's had a good comeback year after starting maybe a bit slower than he would have liked.
Shivakumar Duvarapu with the new ball in hand. It's been a slow season for him, but he's very skilled. Just made his international debut for the United States. Of course, in that game up against the Netherlands. So he, with all of his experience from India, can make a difference. First delivery, some lateral movement straight away. It's a very green surface here at Church Street Park. The same one that was used last weekend. And if anything, if that weekend at Aman Patel was anything to go by in terms of the brand of cricket and the caliber that we'll get here, we're in for 2 or 3 very close games.
It should be exciting weekend of cricket here at Church Street Park. And also, you mentioned the movement. With the overcast conditions outside, it should make for some really nice swing bowling from all the Pacers.
Yeah, Vinith Kumar Kendasamy at slip. You can see him just signaling that there is a hint of movement. It's a bit overcast in terms of conditions. Starting on a good length. It's going to be so pivotal to see how these two teams, of course, battling in the conference finals. This is a rematch of what happened last year at this very venue, where on that occasion it was the Stallions defeating the Morrisville side and getting to that finals weekend. This year, though, the Raptors will think, Aman Patel, that they've got a better chance with a packed lineup.
That packed lineup and also that motivation. Last year, the Stallions just not only beat the Morrisville side, wiped the floor with them. So they have something to prove here to the Raptors.
It's also important to note that last year, the New Jersey Stallions had one Robman Powell, who is currently the West Indies vice captain in the white ball format. He's a huge difference. Bramble brought in for him this season. You can see a hint of inward movement and then just leaving Bramble off the seam. Good piece of bowling so far in the first 4 deliveries from Shivakumar Duvarapu.
We also mentioned how powerful their bowling lineup is, the Stallions. They lost Justin Dill in the offseason, wondering how much of an impact that was going to play. But they found some really good pieces. Manoj Acharya has come in beautifully for them, and we'll get to see him and the other Pacers later today for the New Jersey Stallions.
Another dot delivery. Colin Archibald back into the lineup today for the Morrisville Raptors, and what a huge addition he is, the first-class player. Would have just come off West Indies A duty. Was so good with his all-round ability before he left this team, and now has a chance to get them into that finals weekend. Runs, first runs for the New Jersey Stallions, and it's off the bat. It's off the middle of the bat from Anthony Bramble. A good way to end the first over, 4 for none. A lot of batting for the New Jersey Stallions. A team that we know are very powerful with tons of first-class experience. You look at Paul Palmer, Anthony Bramble, the two first-class players. Nino Henry also playing for the Leeward Islands. And then international experience of Mukamala, Jasdeep Singh. And straight away, into the attack, Colin Archibald.
Much more. Leg stump. Bowling left arm over. Ricky.
You mentioned it, Colin Archibald. He's been so good for the Morrisville Raptors before departing for West Indies A duty. And he was not only good with the ball in hand with his 6 wickets, but with the bat as well. It was so crucial in the back stages of innings. A big reason why they were getting over the line late in matches here at Church Street Park. But he always opened the bowling. He always came back in the death. He's going to be a vital member for this Raptors side today.
That is glorious from Dominic Rickey. This is a man that's in red-hot form this season. He's elevated his game, and it's strokes like that. Tons of experience in the middle for the New Jersey Stallions.
Yeah, almost too easy for Dominic Rickey. It's full, it's a half volley, and he doesn't need a second invite to go play a shot through the covers. Loves to play in that area. Given the opportunity to free his arms, didn't miss out. 4 runs, and he gets off the mark.
What a way to get underway if you're Dominic Rickey. Much better in terms of the length. Yeah, Dominic Rickey, if you can spend some time on him, Aman Patel, it's been an interesting season for him, the way that he's turned things around. Last year, he had a decent year, but I think he underperformed given the fact that he's played international cricket. He just got 315 runs. This year, he's gone past the 400 mark barrier, but he's also averaging 36. He's gotten 2 half centuries, improving from his 0 in 2021. And he spoke to him ahead of today. He mentioned the fact that they love to play at this ground. It's a ground they know well, and obviously would have played a lot of cricket last year, making that final. And I think also, Aman Patel, is better for the game to have it on turf. You have a lot of international players, as you mentioned, for the Stallions. Good running to come back for 2. You want to have your players playing on turf surfaces, and what we've got here at North Carolina is a very good one.
I think that's always important. That's how you improve the quality of the game. That's Obis PNR on the screen, and he loves turf wickets. We'll get to see him later. But as you mentioned, when you talk about Dominic Rickey, someone who's so good on turf, someone who's so good last year, you're just wondering why he wasn't able to get over the line. Started a little sluggish, too, as you see them come back for these 2 runs. But started sluggish in the beginning of this year, but then really picked things up with the departure of Saiteja Mukamala, and a big part of why the Stallions are here today.
I think that's where you want to be if you're Colin Archibald. This surface has shown that it can be on the slower side. It's why Dane Pete won the toss, elected to bowl first, because it is tricky to bat on early. Interesting to see as we go through tonight how things change in terms of with the dew factor coming in. But it is a surface that, as we know, has a lot of that green grass on it. So I wonder how the seamers with that sideways movement come into play. How does it hold together? All these are different factors which must be considered.
Yeah, and I have to imagine Sivakumar Duvarapu is going to be used basically throughout this power play to extract the swing. Swings the ball the most. We might get to see a look at Abhiram Bolasetti, who probably after the likes of Kumar Duvarapu and you say Colin Archibald swings it the most. Matthew Ford, another option that gets that movement off the wicket. Just be interesting to see how they use those pacers and how they use the green grass, as you mentioned, on this wicket.
Well, the surface, fresh surface today. It was the one used last weekend. I think the 2 to the right of screen are being prepared for the finals weekend, but there's still a lot of green grass. It's what's held the surface together. Has been on the drier side though. So interesting to see how the spinners as well come into play. See a lot of those small cracks through the middle. Wonder how important that will be to the grand scheme of things. But a lot of seamers from both teams on display. Hasn't quite got it, Anthony Bramble. It's a chance for the Raptors. And it's taken. It's an excellent catch by Aditya Padala. And it's a huge wicket for the Morrisville Raptors to get the dangerous Bramble.
A huge wicket indeed, and Aditya Padala, arguably the best fielder on this Raptors side, outside of maybe Dane Pete and Obis PNR. everyone trusts whenever he is under a ball. And you can see that one running all the way back. It's never easy running back. As he completely sliced by Bramble. And he's running all the way back. Abiram Bolasetti and him. And you can see Badala, he had it all the way through. And you can see the elation on young Bolasetti's face. They know how big this wicket is for their side and how they can use this to move over the line in match 1.
Well, Anthony Bramble walking back, just 4 in the 8 deliveries, 11 for 1, end of 2.
My son, he's so soft-spoken. Everyone says he's so good-looking, and he never forgets to call.
Hi, Mom. Born for your true self. The 2022 Tundra. Toyota. Let's go places.
What's up, Doug? What got into you?
At Sunoco, we know how to fuel peak performance. Fuel your best.
Well, Sateja Mukamala, the youngster, he's got a lot of runs in the 2 seasons. He's an international player, already played in 4-1 internationals for the USA. But he's got a big job now, under pressure in this semi-final. Aman Patel, it's a best of 3 for those new to the 2022 Toyota Minor League Cricket Championship, presented by Sunoco, of course. The conference finals is a best of 3 encounter where you've got to win 2 out of the 3 games to progress to the finals weekend. Duvarapu continuing. Oh, it's off the outside edge, off the mark straight away is Sateja Mukamala. The wicket again. It was on a good length. Brown, but looking to go over that offside. Didn't quite get it, didn't time it. And a really good running catch by young Aditya Padala. It's what this team does so well. They use that youth that they exhibit. And on display again.
So good in the field. It's been a staple for the Raptors. And when they're good in the field, everything seems to go their way.
Yeah, when they operate on that good length, they've been a different bowling unit. Interesting though, Aman Patel, when I was looking at the New Jersey Stallions coming into this tournament, they batted first 9 out of the 14 games that they've played, but the 2 losses that they picked up in the tournament as well to the Manhattan Yorkers have come when they batted first. I think they'll want to improve on their power play. We know the importance of the first 6 overs. They only score at just above 7.5 runs per over in this 2022 Toyota Minor League Cricket Championship. So they have already lost an early wicket. They've got to capitalize on the fielding restrictions, just 2 allowed outside the circle.
And that's how big Bramble was to that side. When he was inserted at the top of the order, things seemed to go in a better direction. Their 2 losses you mentioned were early in the year. Talk about their last loss was July 10th against the Manhattan Yorkers. So for that, that was when you had Dominic Rickey taking his time, Sateja Mukamala taking his time. Bramble really...
A lot of swing there, a lot of swing from Shivakumar Duvarapu. Very good use of the seam, able to get a bit of that lateral movement.
And just take a look at it here, that movement back in, just off that inside edge of Dominic Rickey. But Shivakumar, he's known for the way he can move the ball with the green grass, with the overcast conditions. Like I was saying, I think he's going to bowl throughout this power play and just keep things tight.
Martin Inyamdar, the standing umpire today. Nicked and put down. The slip was in place exactly for that. He's been challenging here so far at Church Street Park. Shivakumar Duvarapu asking the right questions early on.
Well, it was full, it was straight, just a hint of movement. Ricky wanted to go down, and it looked like it got to Vinod Kumar Kandaswamy, and just in and out. Again, this will be another good look at it. Yeah, it looks like it is a chance that was put down. Never easy, low, moving to your left, but a chance you got to take it first slip.
So a great start for the Morrisville Raptors, and there's a reason. We saw the toss earlier. We saw Dane Pete when he won the toss, the big smile that came across his face. There's a reason, Aman Patel, because teams chasing, and you look at the 28 T20s played at Church Street Park, 17 times have been won by teams bowling first, and it's because of this, the movement that you get, especially the sideways movement and also the slowish nature of this surface to start. End of 3 overs. The Raptors well on top of things, 13 for 1.
Brilliant stuff, Shiva. Brilliant stuff, Shiva. Do wide for me, right? Yeah. A couple of balls bounced, right? So I probably like 2 steps inside.
Well, this 2022 Toyota Minor League Cricket Championship presented by Sunoco. We're into the conference finals where just 8 teams remain in this tournament. Of course, all fighting for that coveted prize come next weekend. They all want to book a spot in the final 4 teams who will compete at Church Street Park, the glorious Church Street Park. The New Jersey Stallions, no strangers to this venue. A team that played a lot of cricket here. They would have played in 2021 at the finals weekend where they finished runners-up. And after topping the group, electing to play the cricket here. This young man has been a special find. He was obviously playing for the Raptors last season, but I think he's improved and grown massively in this 2022 edition. Aditya Padala.
Yeah, last year used more of as a defensive bowler. This year, much more attacking. The leading wicket taker for the Morrisville Raptors with 13 on the year in his 11 innings, and he also someone who can extract some sideways movement. We saw it in the minor league youth tournament down in Houston, where he was just moving it really nicely back into the right-hander. We'll see what he can do today.
So the left arm seamer, and so often we see Lahir Malanta up to the stumps, cramping the batter, not allowing him to go out of the crease to mitigate that swing. See the field, he's starting with a pat offside field. He's got that third up on the circle. The mid-wicket and fine leg, the 2 boundary riders. Starts on a shortish length. Just the 1 over for Colin Archibald as well, out of the attack.
Yeah, and a plethora of options for the Morrisville Raptors, including that man on your screen, Matthew Fort. He was so good when they brought him in 2 weeks ago in Atlanta, and he's only gotten better and better. So him, Colin Archibald, Padala, Sivakumar, great group of pacers.
Yeah, he's been a huge addition for this Raptors team. And many would have expected him to return home for the Caribbean Premier League. But he's putting it all on the line for his side, ensuring that they can get the maximum production out of Ford before he does make that trip to play for the St. Lucia Kings. But to have him and Colin Archibald together in the side is a huge, huge benefit and an asset to have for the Morrisville Raptors. How much of a difference could that play on their chances, Aman Patel? Of course, he's just 20 years old, Matthew Ford.
Well, we've seen what he can do with both bat and ball and how big he is. Taking wickets at the end, of course, scoring the winning runs last week, the winning 2 against the Atlanta Lightning. So we know how big he is. Colin Archibald, he's done the same thing, taking wickets at the end, scored with the bat when they needed it, got it to a super over against the New Jersey Somerset Cavaliers at times. And again, he's been so good.
Yeah, and both Ford and Archibald, they're known as bowling all-rounders, but when you look at the batting prowess that they possess, obviously before he departed, Colin Archibald, he was striking at 160 last season. Matthew Ford struck at 190 for the Michigan Cricket Stars. He's batted 3 times in the tournament for the Raptors, and he's not been dismissed once. We've already seen him play some cameos at this very venue, a match-winning one against the Atlanta Lightning in a thriller just a week ago. So the all-rounders for this Morrisville Raptors team, along with captain Dane Pete, really making the difference. And so far, what a start, a dream start inside the first 4 overs.
Dead ball.
Aditya Padala just missing his run up there. It gives us the opportunity, though, to speak about this young man and how much he's improved this season, Aman Patel. He just picked up 10 wickets in 2021 playing for this Morrisville team. But the one thing I look at is that angle he uses from over the wicket. Able to cramp some of those bigger hitters. We saw it with Raheem Cornwall where he dismissed him twice, bowling over and in at the body of the right-handed batter.
This speaks to the faith that Dane Pete and company have in this young man, Aditya Padala.
Quick single. They scamper through Satij Mukamali. He's that type of player. He will run hard between the wickets. unable to get through for one. But what an over so far, what a start. Just the 2 boundaries conceded for the Raptors. Vijay Malela, the other umpire, joining Matin Imamdar. So 2 of the very best in this minor league at the conference finals. And at Church Street Park, Dane Pete, well, had him in the commentary, but he's today with his captain's hat on, his skipper hat, because he's got to lead his team in these 2 or 3 games. This is in the air. There is a deep mid-wicket, but he's got it really well, Dominic Ricky. And this is how he's grown in terms of his game between the 2 seasons. Haven't seen that a lot from this man, but he's showing that he's a man in confidence, and he backs himself.
Yeah, just take a look at this one. Just straying down the legs a bit and just use the wrist nicely. He's such a great timer of the ball. We saw it on his first delivery. And this one, bigger and better. 6 runs over mid-wicket to end the 3rd over. The 4th over. 21 for loss of 1.
Well, an early wicket lost for the New Jersey Stallions, but they won't panic because they've got a lot of batting to come. A team that have got a lot of depth, which has helped them through the season. Raymond Ramrattan, very capable, as we know. Paul Palmer, the first-class player from Jamaica, still to come. And, of course, Jasdeep Singh back from USA duty in Scotland, as well as Teja Mukamala at the crease. A good start for Dominic Ricky, who's been the leading run scorer for the New Jersey Stallions. Interesting move, Aman Patel, from Dane Pete to give Shivakumar Duvarapu his 3rd over. He's bowled extremely well, but it tells you also about how much he backs some of his other seamers for the back end of the innings.
And we mentioned it, Matthew Ford, Colin Archibald, both in this 11. Now you have 2 guys you can trust in the death, and the way Shivakumar is moving the ball early, I don't think you want to take him off. He's been amongst the wickets, created opportunities, and kept things tight. And again, it's just that extra option that's just gifting Dane Pete this luxury.
Just times the ball so well, this young man, Sateja Mukamala. And he will get a boundary, his first of the conference finals weekend. But what a young player this guy is.
Just pleasing on the eye of Sateja Mukamala. A little bit of width on offer, and he doesn't miss out. Just lunges out there, gets it in the gap, and never a doubt once it left the bat. 4 runs for Sateja Mukamala.
That will do his confidence a world of good. He hasn't played much this season for this New Jersey Stallions team, and that's been because of international commitments. Just the 9 innings, but he's already gone past the 200-run mark. Then rides this one down to that deep 3rd fielder. You think, though, the Morrisville Raptors will be the happier of the 2 teams because even though they've only picked up 1 wicket, Aman, the fact that they've been able to keep the run scoring to below 6.5 inside the first 6, how often do we see it? In T20 cricket, you win the power play, you go on to win the game.
That's exactly what it is in T20 cricket. But the one solace you take if you're the New Jersey Stallions, this venue, it's a venue that ebbs and flows unlike many other places here for the minor league cricket season, where you can have this lull period and then at some point just picks up. And if Ricky and Mukamala stay in the middle, you know things are bound to pick up.
Just so good at using that seam. Strong wrist behind the ball for Shivakumar Duvarapu. He's struggled with injury this season, but to have him back now, firing and ready as they look to close out the last 2 weekends of this tournament is a huge addition. Hasn't really come to the party with the bat, but we know what he's capable of as an all-rounder. Interesting, Aman Patel, in the 2022 matches being played here at Church Street Park. Average first inning score 152. And I think it's been because of the difficulties to bat on this surface. Not only the green grass, but also the slowish nature that we've seen, the spinners coming into play as well. Today a double header as we have that 6 p.m. action coming your way.
And I think the 6 p.m. game, you should expect maybe a bit of a higher score because of the dew. In that 2nd innings, you're going to see the lights here at Church Street Park. You don't get to see that in many venues in this tournament, but at Church Street Park, we're afforded that luxury.
Now, has he got that? Has he got that? Obas Pinar puts it down. It was such a good effort. He was running back. He's a tall man, the tallest for the Morrisville Raptors. But he unable to hold on. What a big wicket that would have been.
Well, Dominic Ricky felt the pressure coming on. He tried to go over the top, and Obis PNR, you can see him backpedaling. Once you start backpedaling as a fielder, it's never easy, and it was over his head. He tried to go one-handed, almost recreated an Odell Beckham Jr., but instead he puts it down, and Dominic Ricky given a second life here inside the power play.
That was a candidate for the catch of the tournament had he held on. Seen a couple of those. They'll end with just a single, but they keep things under control. The Morrisville Raptors end the 5, 30-1. For the first time today, Peter Della Penna.
Well, you can see it there, doubleheader here at Church Street Park. Today, of course, at noon, and then game 2, 6 p.m. We're going to see these two teams, and if we split the games here today, we'll see Sunday a match between these two sides here in this semifinals as we head towards that conference finals. Again, you can see the Morrisville Raptors. They know they need something special here, and they're going to turn to Colin Archibald, just the one over Aditya Badala. Again, Dominic Ricky was just given a second life in that previous over. Saite Jamukamala started to get things going with that initial boundary.
Yeah.
Colin Archibald right on the money. All they can afford is a single.
Side.
And Amon Patel here in the box and joined for the first time today, and it's always great to have this man in the comm box. It's Peter Della Penna, who's also fresh off of international duty for the USA. Peter, how you doing today?
Doing better now that I'm sitting next to you, Amon. Now that I'm at this lovely ground in Church Street Park here in Morrisville. It's always great to be back here in the Carolinas.
Yeah, the Tar Heel State, that's where we are, North Carolina, Church Street Park, one of the best venues of cricket in all the United States. And I want to ask you, after this delivery, what do you make of the start? The Morrisville Raptors have gone off to. They've taken that initial wicket. They've kept the Stallions kind of bogged down in this initial power play period.
They'd be doing even better if they could have held on to one of those chances offered up by Dominic Ricky. I know it was a tough one by Obis PNR backpedaling from mid-off, but he probably would have been better off if he had just turned around and run in a bit more orthodox manner. It's always more difficult when you're trying to backpedal on your heels, and if he had just turned around and tried to take it over the shoulder, probably would have been a much easier chance technically. And if he had held on, man, the Stallions could be in real trouble.
Well, Archibald, he's been right on the money, but this time, bat on ball. He's got it through the infield, and it's going to be another boundary here, this time off the bat of Saite Jamukamala. He's already put one away today, and he's starting to get in flow, the young man, fresh off of USA national duty. He gets 4 more.
Well, this is all the more impressive considering the fact that, yes, he was on international duty, but he was sitting on the bench. He was warming the pine, Amon. And when you come out of Scotland, when you haven't really had match action, he hasn't had a chance to put bat on ball really in 2 weeks. The fact that he's timing the ball as well as he is early on in this innings is a very, very positive sign for the Stallions.
Well, I've said it before. I think Saite Jamukamala, top young bat in the country. He's showing you why right now, his ability to find singles, find boundaries, and keep the runs flowing, whilst Dominic Ricky is starting to struggle just a bit. We've just seen that one boundary since his first delivery that went for 4. He had the 1-6 of Aditya Badala, but since then, hasn't really found many runs.
Yeah, as long as one of these two is staying in rhythm and keeping the runs flowing, you can always compensate for struggle at the other end. And yeah, Dominic Ricky's been a bit scratchy. He's offered 2 chances. That slip chance in the 3rd over off Duvarapu on 7, and then again on 15 in the last over, but he's still there now.
It's a change of angle for Colin Archibald, and he's just trying to keep it tight onto Dominic Ricky. I think what we've seen is anytime he's been given width, he's taken advantage. He's just trying to keep it on the body and on top of stumps. We haven't seen Dominic Ricky score a lot when the deliveries are on that off and middle line. It's more so just trying to fend it away. I think that's why we've seen the change of angle from Colin Archibald.
Yeah.
Right over top the off stump and nowhere to go. Saiteja Mukamala, he sends Dominic Ricky back, and that'll end the power play. A good power play for the Morrisville Raptors. 36 for the loss of 1. Well, just the 1 wicket down for the New Jersey Stallions in the power play, but it's the big wicket of Anthony Bramble, who's been so good for them. 374 runs across 14 innings this year, striking at above 150. These two more so in that 100 range when they strike, so that's why you can see 19 for 20 from Ricky, 12 from 8 from Saiteja Mukamala. They're going to want to get a move on things. And you look at them, Manhattan, some quiet overs in there. The third over, the best for the Raptors. But it's just been the Raptors show in this initial period.
Do we call that a Manhattan or do we call that a Raleigh in this part of the world? I don't see an Empire State Building or a Chrysler Building there. I see some of the things that if you drive downtown Raleigh, some of those kind of buildings look much more similar.
Well, you might be onto something there, Peter De La Pena, with the towers in Raleigh. And it's Dane Pete coming in, as you can see. Great staff here at minor league cricket. Of course, Nico to the left. Josh Dascombe to the right as Dane Pete comes in to the attack. Of course, Dane Pete playing international cricket for South Africa. Captain of the side. He's going to need to have another big day for the Morrisville Raptors and see what he can extract off the wicket.
If you look at him statistically, it's very modest. 7 wickets this season at an average of 27.57, 6.77 economy rate coming into today. The economy is what stands out for him, though. And his leadership. Oftentimes, he's not bowled himself out. There's a lot of matches. You'll look through the scorecards. He doesn't bowl his full quota, but he's not going to bowl himself for the sake of it. Only when the occasion calls for it.
Sweep shot comes out. It gets the inside half of the bat. It's going to be 1 out to find leg, and I think you hit it right on the money, Peter. Dane Pete doesn't often bowl himself out. He uses more of the Obis PNR as a spinner, the Karthikeya Jagadish, but he understands when the moment arises, he's not afraid to give himself the ball, and he backs his ability, but it's his ability as a leader that I think has transcended this Morrisville side.
Especially the younger players. You look at somebody like Aditya Padala, who's thrived this season. Any young player you talk to, the confidence that Dane Pete gives them is incredible. And the transformation between last year and this year, give him a lot of credit for that.
Look how consistent this over's been. Everything has really been right on 5th stump. He just dared Saiteja Mukamala, Dominic Ricky to go anywhere else, try to go over the top, and everything's been on that length as well. We heard Nick Hill mention earlier, when these bowlers are operating on a length, they're a much different side, a much tougher side to beat.
And as a finger spinner, you can't afford to miss your length.
Yeah.
Go, 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 go.
He hasn't missed it this over. It'll just be a single to cap it off. At the end of 7, it's 40 for the loss of 1.
Over.
Well, the New Jersey Stallions, they've only lost 2 matches all year, and it was early. Their last loss, July 10th, over a month ago. And since then, they've just been undefeated. They've looked so good topping that Eastern Division. The Morrisville Raptors, a little bit shaky towards the back end. That loss to the Atlanta Fire last week, but they've come up when they needed to. They finished 2nd in the Southern Division, and that's how we got here, where the New Jersey Stallions elected Church Street Park as their home venue.
And it's the close matches that have really been the difference for the Raptors. Think back early in the season, the super over victory they had here, and even last weekend, closing out a final over victory to clinch a playoff berth, the final ball victory to clinch a playoff berth. And it's those tight games that could have gone one way or another. They could very easily be out of the playoffs, but the ability to hold their nerve when it matters most has got them back to the playoffs for a 2nd year in a row as the Morrisville franchise. Last year as the Cardinals, and this year as the Raptors.
Well, there you go. It's Matthew Ford, and he's the reason they're in the playoff. Remember, hitting that final delivery against the Atlanta Lightning for 2 runs.
Bowling change, right arm over.
Matthew Ford, he's a big part of this Raptors side. And again, when we talk about why they're in the playoff, a couple last ball finishes, Matthew Ford, big part of those finishes. Gives width early, it's slapped but straight to backward point. Again, the fielding so good. That time young Abiram Bolasetti there, and you know, when the Raptors are good in the field, it seems like everything else flowing in the right direction.
Now, you said earlier, DT Padala, I think, is the best fielder. You got Abiram Bolasetti at backward point. You got Obis PNR. Got Rohan Fadki in the squad. I see a 1, a 1A, a 1B, a 1C. It's hard to pick.
As this one's run to third man, I think you're absolutely right there. We have a lot of great fielders here in Morrisville, and again, Rohan Fadki, you just saw fire the ball in. Abiram Bolasetti, you mentioned. Dane Pete, let's not forget about him. Matthew Ford's a great fielder in his own right. Colin Archibald, so safe out in the deep, and that's what you want. You want a team full of great fielders. You want to make it look like a baseball team. Everyone can throw their hands around and take the catches when they need to.
It's probably one of the biggest areas of improvement I've seen between last year and this year for this Raptors side as well.
Look at this, coming quickly in from backward point. Abiram Bolasetti, always aggressive, always looking for that run-out chance. Quite similar to Matthew Ford in that regard. And Ford, after starting a bit too wide, he's been back on stumps, and he's been really tough to play.
He's one of the great youngsters coming up through this area in Morrisville, along with Rohan Fadki, both a member of the USA Under-19 setup over the last year.
Well, this time, Saiteja Mukumala gets onto it, gets it out to sweeper cover for 1. Another one of the fielders out there, Aditya Padala. But again, the Morrisville Raptors have got to be happy. They haven't seen boundaries flow, and on this ground, we know at any point in time the match can change. But the Raptors at the moment, they just have, they feel on top.
Well, again, even deliveries like that, it's just bowling to their field. I've seen a lot of clever bowling.
This one is pulled into the leg side, deep mid wickets out there. Just keep it to 1. Again, you mentioned it, even the deliveries they can get on top of, all they're doing is pushing them to fielders.
I'm not seeing anything overpowering or especially dynamic or special from the bowling from the Raptors, but again, it's using the dimensions of the field, using the square boundaries in particular, having the boundary protection out there. Just very shrewd bowling from Ford.
Again short, again wide. This time he's got it over the top of the infield, but again, it's just a sweeper cover. A second time you're going to feel you missed out if you're the New Jersey Stallions. And just a single to end the 8th over. At the end of 8, it's 44 for the loss of 1.
1, 2, 3.
Took that last corner pretty quick.
Sir, I need 1 hand on the roof, 1 hand on the pump.
Timeout for Sunoco Go Rewards.
Keep pumping.
With new Sunoco Go Rewards, when you fuel, you save, because rewards come first.
Boys, we welcome you back to Church Street Park. And you can see the field setting here. You have that deep sweep recover out in the deep, and Long off making his walk back, Long on there. Deep mid-wicket as well. Looks like it is going to be a change in bowling. The leg spinner, Karthikeya Jagadish. He's taken a 5 already this season. That was down in Florida. Now he's here at Church Street Park and is looking to get himself back amongst the wickets.
Yeah, really impressive figures in limited action. 12 wickets in 6 matches bowling. Only 18 overs, so an incredible strike rate. Takes a wicket 1 every 9 balls. 11.42 average, 7.61 economy rate, and they've done a good job to tie down the runs. Now it's an opportunity to strike for wickets.
And the call is for 2. Sweeper cover is out there. Just keep it to 1 again. Just bowling to their field, the Morrisville Raptors. You mentioned it. Haven't seen something exceedingly special. Sivakumar Dubarapu was moving the ball quite well. We saw a couple deliveries nip off the surface from Colin Archibald. But other than that, it's been nice and tight bowling. It's not allowing the Stallions to free their hands through the line of the ball and get easy boundaries. And no run on offer. Colin Archibald that time at backward point, keeping Saiteja Mukamala on strike.
Doesn't matter if it's Bolasetti, Colin Archibald, anybody else for that matter. No runs being sacrificed here. Outstanding work at backward point.
So big here. Dominic Ricky was looking to get off the mark, but Archibald, quick and left-handed pickup.
Come on.
Kept it to no run. This one just cut away, but sweeper covered there. Matthew Ford, going to be 2 runs, but again, even the bad ball there from Karthikeya Jagadish, a touch short, still wasn't punished and put away to the boundary. You would say it's a win if you're the Morrisville Raptors at the moment.
And no boundary since the 6th over. So very good discipline outside the power play so far in the field.
This one, it's into the leg side. It's going to be a couple of bounces over Tabiram Bolasetti, who keeps it to just 1. Again, that time the googly coming out from Karthikeya Jagadish, just spotting the movement from Dominic Ricky early. This one is pulled away. Fielders out in the deep on the leg side, won't split them. Aditya Badala fires it back in, keeps it to just 2 runs. Again, at some point, you have to feel the New Jersey Stallions are going to want to up the ante and try to put some more impetus into their batting.
Well, starting to collect the 2s a bit better now. The big gap on the leg side between long on and deep mid wicket. And good judgment there by Mukamala to know he had 2 off the bat.
This one just pushed into the leg side. It's going to be 1 out to long on, so that's going to end the 9th over. At the end of 9, it's 51 for the loss of 1. Well, the batting card, the names haven't changed since the wicket of Anthony Bramble, who was dismissed 4 off of 8 off of Colin Archibald's bowling. Brilliant catch from Aditya Badala. Dominic Ricky, sluggish 26 from 29. And Saiteja Mukamala, shown a couple of shots, 20 from 17. But it's the bowlers that have been the star of the day.
Yeah, Sivakumar Duvarapu with a very disciplined opening spell. Archibald, the lone wicket taker, but Padala, Pete, Ford, even Jagadish, everybody's been very, very tight. Again, only 1 boundary, last coming in the 6th over, so no boundaries since the end of the power play.
You see the fans trickling in as this one is pulled into the leg side. Just 1 bounce out to Karthikeya Jagadish off the bowling of Matthew Ford. And it's great to see even here, 11:41 in the morning, Morrisville, North Carolina, that fans are still trickling in. That man on your screen, Saiteja Mukamala, we know how good of a bat he is, how important he was to the Stallions last year, and how important he's going to continue to be if they want to get back to finals weekend.
Talked about the fans trickling in here as well. I can hear some planes overhead, some Airbuses, some Boeings, some 737s coming into the airport, just in the flight path. I feel like I'm at Shea Stadium or now Citi Field in New York. You know, the grounds, the stadiums in America where you're in the flight path. It's very reminiscent. That's right.
So fans everywhere rocking the minor league cricket merch as well. Always good to see. You can enter giveaways on the minor league cricket Instagram if you want to win that shirt and a cap that matches. This one inside edge onto the legs and a quick single scampered away. Again, Dominic Ricky, he's just been sluggish, struggling to get bat on ball, and that continuing. Another shot that didn't look real convincing leads to 1.
Yeah, they're just struggling for timing a bit now. Again, boundaries not coming, nothing since the end of the power play. And sooner or later, the pressure's going to start to build to the point where, as my West Indian friends like to say, pressure bust pipe, Aman.
Well, Saiteja Mukamala, as cool as a cucumber, not letting the pressure burst his pipe at the moment. Just a 1 run down. And again, I think that is a staple of Saiteja Mukamala's batting, is he doesn't try to hit his way out of anything, just looks to access the gaps. And it could be one of his biggest strengths, maybe a big weakness, just in terms of when it's time to get things going, you just feel he just lacks the understanding to get to that second gear. This one's short. He got bat on it. Oh, but didn't get much of it. It's going to be 4 runs just away from the field around the deep, and finally a boundary for Dominic Rickey. Again, not convincing, but it's a boundary nonetheless there, and a much-needed one for the New Jersey Stallions.
Well, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to say he played that intentionally. Maybe not perhaps as fine as he wanted to get it, but he was definitely trying to play the uppercut over third man, and with third man very wide on the boundary, it's a very safe shot, very intelligent shot to relieve some of that pressure.
This one, House of Impetus in. He's pulled this one away. It's going to be back-to-back boundaries here in this 10th over. And finally, Dominic Rickey just needed one off of his bat. And I think I agree with you. It was intentional. Maybe not that fine, but this one, he got all of it, wanted all of it, and 4 runs.
Well, there's no doubt about where he meant to hit this one. Finds the gap very well on the leg side. Splits the 2 boundary riders at deep mid-wicket and deep square leg. And the other part of this acceleration, again, they have to do this because they've got so much depth behind them. You've got Paul Palmer, you've got Raymond Ramratton, got Jesse Singh, so there's no reason to just be settling for singles here.
This one tickled fine. Just going to be 1. No throw coming in, and that'll do it for the 10th over. 63 for the loss of 1.
This is by far the best over of the match so far. The first double-digit over for the Stallions. Finally starting to pick up that run rate. The first 2 boundaries since the end of the opening 6-over power play. And again, they've got so much batting depth behind them. They can't afford to be content with just singles and 2s. And so the first signs of acceleration and aggression, capitalizing on that in the 10th over. And they've got to get to at least 150 from here. So another 87 off the last 10 has got to be a bare minimum target for them to attack.
Well, for the Morrisville Raptors, they were in a similar position last week against the Atlanta Lightning. They had them 19 for 3 in the power play, and then the Lightning go ahead and put up a score of over 180. And it just felt like they got complacent in those middle overs and allowed the Lightning back in. If you're the Raptors now, you don't want to get complacent. Don't want to give Dominic Rickey, Saiteja Mukamala more than capable bats this opportunity to take the score and push it over 180 in this first match. 180 is always so tough to get to. There's Obis PNR that they turn to clamp things down. This one over the top of the infield. Just going to be a couple bounces out to Rohan Fudke. Makes a good sliding stop. Keeps it to 2.
Good work from Fadke. Even better sunglasses game from Rohan Fadke. Gotta say, these youngsters, they're flush with cash, Aman.
Well, they're learning from Dane Pete. We saw those glasses on Dane Pete early in the year, the Patrick Mahomes-esque, and it's trickled on. This one, nowhere to go for Saiteja Mukamala, who just looked to play it behind square, Dominic Rickey. Again, Dane Pete, you can see the glasses on his head, the Patrick Mahomes, big shades, and just trickled to everyone else as this thing goes pushed into the offside.
Well, if you ask Dane Pete, he's probably going to tell you it was Bret Hart that provided the inspiration for those. He's a big wrestling fan. He's a big Stone Cold Steve Austin fan.
Well, I can tell you he's a big Obis PNR fan. He said he was going to be the MVP of the tournament. He's taken 12 wickets in his 12 innings. Again, more known for what he does with the bat in hand, the fastest century in minor league cricket history. But he always plays a big part with the ball.
Oh, he's a big unit, literally and figuratively. Stands well over 6 feet tall on the field. Such a valuable player with his spin, with his fielding, and with his batting.
Well, this time a little width on offer. It's cut away, and it's going to be 4 runs. That's just far too easy. With the pace of Obis PNR, anytime he goes wide, it's going to be far too easy for any of these 2 bats. And an easy 4 here in the 11th.
Well, he's got no boundary protection there, so he can't afford to be that short and wide outside off stump. They've got cover sweeper in place, long on, long off, deep mid-wicket, deep square leg. So if he gets it loose and backward point, can't stop it. It's an automatic boundary. Rickey capitalizes there.
This one pushed as it's a little bit slower in the air, fuller and straighter. A single to end the 11th over. Things going in the right direction for the New Jersey Stallions now. At the end of 11, it's 72 for the loss of 1.
My son is so soft-spoken. Everyone says he's so good-looking, and he never forgets to call.
Hi, Mom. Born for your true self. The 2022 Tundra. Toyota. Let's go places.
What's up, Doug? What got into you?
At Sunoco, we know how to fuel peak performance. Fuel your best.
Welcome back to Church Street Park. And things moving in the right directions now for the New Jersey Stallions. Could stay still a little bit behind, 72 for the loss of 1. And you can see the Morrisville Raptors faithful. They're there and they're looking for that second wicket from their side.
Very concerned,
Well, this one's pulled away and they're concerned because Dominic Ricky started to find the middle of the bat now. And so that's prompted Dane Pete to turn to Sivakumar Duvarapu, who's a strike bowler for the Morrisville Raptors. He's turned to him to bowl his final here. He's just given up 15 in his previous 3. Hasn't taken the wicket, but 2 drop catches of Dominic Ricky in 2 of his overs. He's going to be looking to finish the deal.
You're in.
Quick singles taken here from the Jersey Stallions, keeping the run rate moving in the right direction.
Yeah, Duvarapu is bowled more threatening than his figures would indicate. As he said, Ricky dropped twice in the 3rd over at slip when he was on 7, and then again on 15 at mid-off by Obis PNR in the 5th over.
This one just tucked into the leg side there. You can see it is the leg cutter that from Sivakumar, and without the pace on the ball, allows them to get back for 2. Again, it's good running from the New Jersey Stallions. Understanding the boundaries haven't been flowing with any consistency. They're just making sure the 2s are there in every over, trying to find at least 1 boundary. And Dominic Ricky quietly moving to 47 from 40 deliveries. Like you mentioned, dropped on 7, dropped on 15, and he's taking advantage of both lives. And this one cut, but cut straight to point.
Here's that first chance that happened in the 3rd over. Pitched up, Ricky driving, and it carried to the slip fielder.
Yeah, Vinod Kumar Kandaswamy unable to handle it that time. It was low out to his left, but catch you got to take there at first slip. But Sivakumar Duvarapu has done exactly what I think he was brought in to do. Yes, they want him to take a wicket, but not allow the boundary, as you see the second one.
Here's Obis PNR backpedaling, and if he just turned around and ran straight back, it's always a lot tougher backpedaling on your heels. If he just turned his hips around and started to run straight back and tried to take that over the shoulder, probably had a much better chance to hold on to it.
Another leg cutter to end the 12th over. Another quick single taken from the New Jersey Stallions. 6 runs from the 12th over, 78 for a loss of 1. Well, the New Jersey Stallions, again, they just haven't lost wickets. Saiteji Mukumala charting his way to 25 from 22. Dominic Ricky quietly shooting up to 48 from 42. Again, the initial wicket of Anthony Bramble dampened things down for the Stallions, but they've rebounded nicely and given themselves a good platform to launch off of.
And they've got to keep attacking with all that batting depth left to go. As you see, Sivakumar Duvarapu finishing his spell. Bowled the 3 overs in the power play and then just capped off his spell now. The 6-run over in the 12th, none for 21. And again, even though they haven't really been threatening for wickets outside of them, they've tried to stay very disciplined. But it's up to the Stallions now. And all that batting depth in reserve, they got to start to take some more risks, some more chances to try and get to the boundary.
Well, you see Paul Palmer. He was on your screen. He's just padded up with a bat in hand to the left of it. He's a big member for this New Jersey Stallions side. He came in mid-season, and he's someone who can come in and just smash the ball around. He's so big, again, to the left of your screen with the bat in hand. He's got the pads on. And Paul Palmer, 127 strike rate. Almost the 300 mark in 13 innings. As Obis PNR looks to just quiet things down, try to break this partnership, get this wicket.
And Dominic Ricky's playing for 50 right now. You got to keep on attacking. You can't be blocking here.
He looks to attack. It's aerial for a moment, but in the gap, out to long on, and a little bit of a fumble and a misfield from Rohan Fudke. Usually so sharp. Will bring up the 50 for Dominic Ricky off of just 44 deliveries with that 4.
Oh, good use of the depth of the crease, just backing away to create some room to clear through the offside. Great shot, accessing that extra cover region, but not so great from Rohan Fudke on the boundary. He's usually a very sharp fielder, but very sloppy on the rope there, letting that go. Should have been no more than 2.
This one's in the air. It's a 50 and out. It will be 50 and out. You can see here, Obis PNR, a little bit of a send-off for Dominic Ricky. They had a little bit of an exchange between the overs, and he gets his man after that initial 50 there for Dominic Ricky into the safe hands of Colin Archibald at backward point.
Well, they had to start taking more risks, and Obis PNR knew it, flighted it up, encouraging the drive, and just gets enough turn to produce the outside edge that floats ever so gently to Archibald at backward point. Very easy catch.
Well, Dominic Ricky, 50 and out for him. It's 83 now for the loss of 2. Well, we mentioned it, Paul Palmer, 298 runs in 13 innings, high score of 63. He had just a wonderful weekend up in Philadelphia when they had their cricket carnival up there. Now going to look for a big weekend here in this semifinal to advance to next week's finals weekend. It's so big for them in the middle period and has a decent platform to build off of now in these last 7 overs.
And Dominic Ricky only 7 sixes on the season, whereas Paul Palmer, second most on the team with 17 sixes. Get another look at the wicket. And again, Ricky trying to repeat that shot that brought him a boundary on the previous delivery to bring up a half century, but this time just a little bit more air, dragging the length back ever so slightly from Obis PNR. Very, very clever from the veteran, and brings about the end of a half century partnership.
Yeah, now this is a crucial period for the Morrisville Raptors. If you can see the end of Paul Palmer early, you can really restrict the New Jersey Stallions. But if you let him sit in and get going, he's someone that can change the game, turn things around in just a couple overs. Obis PNR starts on the off stump, and again, so consistent. That's why he's been bowling in these periods, why Dane Pete trusts him to go and deliver that wicket that the Raptors so desperately need.
Again, you see a change of the angle now with the left-hander at the crease. Obis PNR coming over the stumps.
Again, just attacking the off stump. A quick single going to be attempted and taken. Again, smart running there to end the 13th over. A wicket falls in it. And at the end of 13, it's 84 for the loss of 2.
DJ, you said 3 balls left. You said 3 balls left. Sanjay.
Well, here you go, and you look at our Dominic Ricky, 52 from 45, a little bit sluggish up top. Anthony Bramble, 4 from 8. Sateji Mukumala, he's in there right now, 26 from 23. And Paul Palmer, he's a big man who comes in the middle, was really revelation for them in the middle of the season. He's going to be so ever important for the New Jersey Stallions to put up a good total.
And on the flip side, more clever captaincy from Dane Pete, who only had the 1 over in the 7th, but he's bringing himself back on now with a fresh batter at the crease, a left-hander, so he's going to be turning the ball away at the start of this over. Very shrewd, subtle but shrewd bowling changes here by Dane Pete, and these are the little 1%ers that can make a big difference in the end result.
Yeah, just understanding the angles of having that left-hander wants Palmer to hit against the turn and try to access the leg side. This one just pushed off of his legs, and again, Palmer does start off maybe a touch slower, but just uses the singles And then once he gets in 10 deliveries, that's when you'll see him start to really go and take off. I think Pete just trying to keep him in his shell as long as possible. But now we have Saiteja Mukamala, who hasn't seen a lot of strike in the previous couple of overs.
Go, Dan!
But right away gets a quick single. So we're gonna go and push for two. Chance of a run out.
Come on.
Throw wasn't there. Had it been on, Lehido Malanta so quick with the gloves, you just had to imagine that there was an opportunity. But a good two taken from the Stallions.
You hinted at it before that delivery, the desperation for Mukamala to get on strike and keep the strike. Perfectly weighted to come back for the second run. Big gap on the leg side in front of mid-wicket. Nobody in front of square on the leg side in the ring, and he just recognized that the tip and run. And prior to that delivery, he's only faced 4 of the last 18 balls in the last 3 overs. So again, that inability to keep rhythm, having been at the crease for a long time, came in the 3rd over, and now he's just trying to reestablish that rhythm here with Paul Palmer.
Well, Palmer has a lot of experience, of course, playing down in the Caribbean, and again, he's going to rely on all of that. Just into the legs of Paul Palmer, pushed into the leg side. Going to be 1, and again, for the New Jersey Stallions, you don't want to be in this rebuilding phase for too long. You can take an over, but after this, just 6 left. You're going to have to imagine you're going to see some more big striking, because you know the depth of the Stallion side. You don't want to have all the big bats sitting in at the end. This one in the air, but it's over the top of the infield, and Saiteja Mukamala gets a little bit of width and gets himself 4 runs. He's strong in that area. Anytime you give him width, he's good through the offside, and he takes advantage. 4 more.
It's his first boundary since the 6th over. Capitalizing on that width, again, to get unstuck and keep the scoreboard ticking over.
This time much straighter and just worked into the leg side there. So Saiteja Mukamala, he'll retain strike going into the next over. 14 overs gone, 94 for the loss of 2. Well, how did we get to Church Street Park? The New Jersey Stallions, they lost 2 matches to the Manhattan Yorkers, but their last loss came July 10th. Haven't lost in over a month. That's why they're here. They topped the Eastern Division. The Morrisville Raptors, they clinched the playoffs last weekend right here, this very venue of Church Street Park, against the Atlanta Lightning. And the Jersey Stallions opting to use Church Street as their home venue with a lot of guys who play on turf. The Morrisville Raptors, they get to play right here in Morrisville, North Carolina.
And it was the same scenario as last year. Nikhil Uttamchandani mentioned it before. The Stallions topped the division last year, but came down here in the first weekend of playoff matches and swept the then Morrisville Cardinals.
This one pushed into the offside as Obis Pienaar will continue into his 3rd over. And he got the wicket he was looking for in Dominic Ricky. He was having a little battle with them. You could hear the send-off. And again, Obis Pienaar always has a chance to be on DAFA News, and this tournament not possible without any of the corporate sponsors, Toyota, Sunoco, and so important how this league and how this game has grown over the course of the year in the United States. And he's knocked over Paul Palmer. He's looking to access the leg side. The spin in undoes him. And Obis Pienaar, we talked about him. Could he be on the pages of DAFA News? He's now got 2 wickets. He's got the big man, Paul Palmer, to walk back.
Just another subtle change of pace. Paul Palmer kind of telegraphed his intentions a little bit early, and Obis Pienaar just quickened up his pace a little bit, darted it in a bit flatter to beat that attempted sweep. And it just gets enough turn to clatter into off stump halfway up. Beautiful bowling from Obis Pienaar.
The off stump falls, and Paul Palmer goes 3 for 5. It's now 95 for the loss of 3. And you mentioned it was a change of pace. It just was a little bit quicker in the air than Paul Palmer was expecting. And now it'll bring out Raymond Ramraten. And these two have batted together. Last year, were routinely batting together up top the order. It's a little bit of a different role for Raymond this season. Sent a little bit lower down the order, be a bigger hitter in the back end of things. But now he's got to come in here in this 15th over with only 95 runs on the board. You feel like 163 is going to be your par score. Can Raymond Ramraten and all of his big hitting prowess get them over to that spot?
Well, he's somebody who was an all-rounder at junior level for USA, a former USA under-19 player, and Raymond out of New Jersey is capable of clearing the ropes in his limited opportunities this season. 9 sixes through his 187 runs in 9 innings of the crease. Again, yeah, he's been utilized a bit further down the order, but he's definitely capable of generating that power that the Stallions need at this stage.
On the pad straight away. It's going to go down the leg side there. Obis PNR asking all the right questions at the moment.
Well, the previous delivery to dismiss Paul Palmer turned sharply. This one was a bit more skiddy, and it was always going to be missing leg stump.
And here's the replay here again. Excuse me, that was not the replay. That was just what happened here. Pushed out into the leg side there from Raymond Ramraten. That'll get him off the mark and bring back Saiteja Mukamala. And here is the replay, that LBW shout, and it did straighten up towards the back end of things, but just maybe not enough for the finger to raise.
It's a good decision, I think fair decision from Mateen Inamdar.
Again, attacking the legs and just pushed into the leg side. They call for two. Aditya Abdallah's quick with the throw, but won't be quick enough. As they'll get two there. With one delivery left here for Obis PNR. He's got one last opportunity here in this 15th to see if he can get Saiteja Mukamala. This is the wicket. Again, just a little bit quicker through the air. It spun back in on Paul Palmer and just swung all around it. Again, just kind of telegraphing that sweep, moved all the way across and opened up the off stump, and PNR, second wicket for him. And this one just pushed into the offside. That'll bring about the end of the 15th over and a commentary change, 99 for the loss of 3.
Whoever you are, on the field, dream is what drives us. Gear up for your dreams. Shop now at dreamcricketstore.com.
Let's go. Next off, fast bowler bowling, okay?
Dane Pete, the captain, 2 overs remaining in his spell. 5 overs remaining for the New Jersey Stallions. Pleasure to be alongside the man himself, Peter Della Penna. Pete continuing. It's been a really good performance, even though they've only taken 3 wickets for the Morrisville Raptors, to just keep them to that 6.5 run per over mark pretty much consistently throughout the first 16 overs. Has been a brilliant way to start the conference finals.
Yeah, the 100 comes up. It's up to these 2 youngsters to get the Stallions up closer to 150. These 2 are part of the same academy, the Dream Cricket Academy, down in Somerset, New Jersey. And slightly loose shot. Gets away with it there from Ramraten. And there's a slight age difference between the 2, but they've played an awful lot of cricket together. They're not just franchise teammates here with the Stallions. They are part of the same academy, coached by Earl Daly up in New Jersey.
Last 5 overs here, Peter Della Penna. They've got to finish strongly. This New Jersey Stallions team, they just crossed the 100 mark. They have wickets in hand, so you expect them to go pretty hard. They've got Jesse Singh to come. Manoj Acharya can strike a few. We think a lot on these 2. They've gone to Raymond Ramraten, who's batted at as low as 9 this season because he's known for his finishing ability in the innings. was a good knock to set them up here from Dominic Ricky, but they've got to finish well.
Yes, buddy. Yeah,
2 is the call.
Come.
Just be a 1. Now, Peter Delapenny, you were just in Scotland with the likes of Sadeja Mukamala. How does he go about this innings here? Does he sort of up the ante at any stage of these last 5 overs?
Well, he doesn't have a choice. With 7 wickets in hand, you got to accelerate from here.
Come on.
Gets into the gap, and it will run away. So quick outfield. Do well, Sanjay Stanley, the sub-fielder on. Able to keep that to just 2.
Really good work off the bat. It looked like he timed it well enough to get 4, but Sanjay Stanley, who also another former USA Under-19 player. A lot of good youth on show, on display here. You've got the youngsters in the Raptors squad, Abiram Bolasetti and Sanjay Stanley and Rohan Fadke. And then on the flip side, on the Stallion side, you've got Raymond Ramratan and Sai Mukamala, also USA Under-19 representatives. So a lot of good young talent getting a chance to be showcased here in this playoff stage of the Toyota Minor League Cricket T20 competition.
Raymond Ramratan on strike. They've got to get something going. The Stallions. Down the leg side, we'll have to rebowl that one. Jacobus Pinar. You look at between overs 5 to 10, where they use the likes of Dane Pete and then the very 2 experienced all-rounders in Matthew Ford and Colin Archibald. Just 33 runs were scored. Then overs 10 to 15, where we saw a lot of Kartikeya Jagadish and the spin of Pinar and Pete. Just 36 runs being scored, and it's why they've really struggled in terms of to get that scoring rate past the 7-run per over mark. If you're the Raptors, you're very happy with this. You've got to close things out well, though. You don't want to let them get past that 150 mark. We know the par score here for teams batting first in games this season has been 152 runs. Last weekend we saw a couple of high-scoring games, but also a couple of difficult run chases. Some last ball fillers as well, one won by the Morrisville Raptors. Very short from Pinar. Pulls it, but straight to the man. And Aditya Padala, he doesn't drop many. He's already taken 1 good catch. This one, much simpler. And this has been the story for the Stallions. They just continuously failed to build that momentum in the innings. Another wicket going a-begging.
Yeah, it was a half-tracker, but he scuffed the shot. Ramratan. And that mid-wicket boundary very, very deep. Didn't come close to clearing it. Padala takes that catch comfortably 10 yards inside the rope. And again, clever bowling, knowing where the boundary depth is in terms of where you can afford to bowl a loose delivery with the protection on the rope. And Obis PNR, all of a sudden, has 3 wickets.
Ramratan gone for 4, 108 for 4 as well. Deron Davis comes to the middle now for, Davis Deron comes to the middle for the New Jersey Stallions with some impetus needed in this innings. Hasn't been a main contributor with the bat in hand. They do, of course, still have Jesse Singh. Interesting, where we have seen him, Peter Delapenna, come in at number 5 at times in the season. He's opting to leave himself for late. The captain.
I'm a bit surprised by this move, I have to be honest. Usually this is a sequence where you would see the captain take on that responsibility.
Goes straight away over extra cover. There is that fielder inside the circle, but just able to evade him. The run off the mark. That was actually Mukamala continuing. Jacobus Pinar today has been much slower in terms of his pace. Nothing in that delivery. It was a short delivery. And Raymond Ramratan will be disappointed. Padala watched him, though. He was in off the boundary.
Come on, lads. Come on, lads. Come on.
And he perfectly positioned for that catch.
He's already got 3 wickets. And he's also going to be figuring to play a big role with the bat later on in the chase as well for the Raptors. He's off to a superb start today in the field.
Just manipulates the gap so well, this young man, Satija Mukamala. Another single, 4 away from a half century. And the fact that he's not played a lot of cricket in this year's minor league because of international duty has been tough for him to find that rhythm, but just shows you the quality of this young man. We were both there, Peter Delapenna, at the Houston Challenge, where he scored the most runs playing with 50 of the best cricketers in the country.
Last ball, last ball, last ball.
That was way back in April. And that earned him the call-up for USA in May and June as a replacement for the then-injured Jaskaran Malhotra. But he did well enough to keep his spot even when Malhotra became healthy for this recent tour to Scotland.
I'm interested in terms of the role that the United States have used him in. We can get back to that in the next over. End of 17, 112 for 4.
Over.
Is the 18th, right? Is it 18?
Just 3 overs remaining here at Church Street Park. The crowd slowly trickling in to watch today's action. Remember, doubleheader coming your way in this best of 3 conference finals. Satija Mukamala and Dominic Ricky both getting substantial scores, but they've got to pick things up in these last 2 overs if they want to get to that 150-run mark.
We're going to see Dane Pete finish off his spell here.
Raptors faithful into the Church Street Park venue. Peter Delapenna, I want to ask you about this young man, Satija Mukamala. You've seen a lot of cricket. You've seen a lot of cricket. Davis Duron just come to the crease. Just be another single. 2 is the call, but there's that deep cover fielder. You were just in Aberdeen, Scotland with this United States team. They've used Satija Mukamala in the 4-1 internationals that he's played, Peter Delapenna, at number 5 and number 6. Something that I found really intriguing. Strike rate is only 66. Is that sort of where you think he can bat in ODI cricket, sort of in that finishing role? Run out chance. Matthew Ford, such an athletic fielder. Able to get through, though, for the single.
Well, he's been pigeonholed in there as a result of the fact that there's just too much batting depth at the top that's established for USA. You've got Sushant Madani, Stephen Taylor, Manak Patel on the top 3.
Down the trap, but off the outside edge. And it's going to be more runs for Mukamala. That fielder able to keep that to just 2, though, but they're so good at running between the wickets because of the quickness of the young Mukamala.
It's definitely not his preferred position, batting down there at 5'6". But when you've got so much senior veteran leadership that's performing, that's in form, Stephen Taylor was outstanding in those matches in Texas in May and June. And Sushant Madani as well, scoring his maiden ODI century. And as an 18-year-old coming in, you can't be pushing the seniors around.
Yes.
Down to long on. I just feel, though, with his style of play as he goes to 50, Satija Mukamala. An excellent contribution from him in his first game off of international duty. A knock that he'll feel very good about going to a half century. And for his team, he's so good at this venue last season in the finals weekend, picking up right where he left off from 2021.
And for Mukamala, that is his 3rd half century this season.
Deron Davis still trying to find the middle of the bat, trying to find the rhythm, but another good over. This is the 50 from Satija Mukamala. It's been a package full of classical strokes, and he's a classical young man, just 18 years old. And what an addition he has been in these 2 seasons for the New Jersey Stallions, and what a man to get back in the business phase of this tournament.
You can see him peppering the offside boundary. He loves that cut shot, loves to play square of the wicket. It's one of the reasons why he's used so frequently as an opener. He loves pace on the ball, generally speaking. Loves to take on the short ball from the Pacers, but today he's taken on the spinners to great effect. Again, finding the gaps through the offside, in particular through backward point to get to the boundary. And so far this season, his best is 66. He's got 2 overs left to try and surpass that here. And the Stallions are going to need that if they're going to get to that 150 mark. At the moment, they're on pace for what looks like it's going to be an under par score.
2 overs from Matthew Ford remaining. 2 overs from Colin Archibald for Dane Pete to go to as well. You think those two may close out the innings for the Morrisville Raptors. It tells you how many options, how many reliable options that they have.
Bowling around the wicket.
Spin being the go-to today has been a bit tougher to score against. Davis Theron on strike. Into the pitch. Hasn't got it at all. 2 is the call. Archibald is such a good fielder, but they'll get back. I've seen a couple 2s in the last couple of overs, which is good for the fact that they haven't been able to hit boundaries.
That's good, boys. That's good.
Just to wrap up the point about Sai Mukamala, I think back to the Australia team in the mid-2000s when Justin Langer was injured temporarily and opened the door for Mike Hussey to come into the team. And Mike Hussey was an opener for Western Australia, scored his first century as an opener for Australia in place of Justin Langer. But when Justin Langer was healthy, Michael Hussey went down to number 5. He had to adapt, and one of the reasons why he became such a great player for Australia.
Well, this is very fine from Davis Theron, but excellent piece of work. Theron Davis, correction. Sanjay Stanley doing the fielding on the boundary. Interested to see if that's been given a boundary. And it has. So his effort in vain. And a much needed boundary for Theron Davis.
Yeah, sloppy from Sanjay Stanley. Again, that's the second time today we've seen a misfield turn 2 into 4. Earlier it was Rohan Fadki and now Sanjay Stanley, the 2 youngsters who typically are 2 of the better fielders, turn into the guilty parties. As we see a little bit of a matador effort there. Olay gets through the red cape.
Putting out those long levers now. Theron Davis, he gets it past cover. It's going to be back-to-back boundaries for Theron Davis. And this was what the Stallions needed. Something just to kickstart the innings, to get that scoring rate up.
And once again, the red cape is out. Another Olay. Nikhil, 2 balls that arguably could have been stopped with a little bit better efforts, but costs the Raptors back-to-back boundaries now. They've got to pick up the fielding here down the stretch.
What delivery does Matthew Ford go to? 2 boundaries in a row, both on a good length, short length. Down the track, that is the best of the lot. And it goes all the way for a maximum. What an over this has been for the New Jersey Stallions. And this is the luxury you have when you have wickets in hand. Theron Davis, welcome to Church Street Park.
Well, this is really impressive. Gets the right length to attack. And Ford misfiring on the Yorker. He was going for wide Yorker, just didn't get it full enough. Instead of getting it on the crease line for a Yorker length, just gets it in the slot on that wide guideline, and Davis punishes it.
Much better because of the line. It was much straighter. Doesn't give Davis the arms to go into the offside. He just has that one fielder on that cover boundary. So he knew once he came and got close to the pitch of the ball, and once he got it over the extra cover fielder, he was able to then hit the couple of boundaries, but much better from Ford.
So far, this is already by far the best over the innings for the Stallions. Previous best was 12 runs in the 10th, so they've got 16 so far. If they can get another boundary, this would be huge to take back momentum.
Long on in place, should just be 1. 152 the par score. They'll be searching for 150. A great over though for them. 17 runs from it. The Stallions 136 for 4. Just 1 over remaining in this contest. And what a start it's been to the conference finals. We've had pretty much a roller coaster ride. The power play won by the Raptors. Then a good partnership from Dominic Rickey and Sateja Mukamala, helping them fight their way. And because of that platform that they've built, now going at 7 runs and over, 1 over remaining. They'll be searching for 150. Peter Delapena, what's a good total here at Church Street Park? What will the Stallions be searching for with 6 balls remaining?
Well, again, nothing less than 150. Got to get to at least 150 here. So a huge over just now in the 19th to get 17 from it, as Colin Archibald, it looks like he's going to be bowling the final over. They've got some options.
just 18 years old, Satija Mukamala. He will be looking to finish the innings off for his team. It's one of his more improved performances, though, and I say that because you look at his tournament strike rate, it's just been at 99. But the innings that he's played today, with only 3 boundaries, mind you, the fact that he's only hit 3 fours in his 50, but he's striking at 128. It's an innings-esque of that 66 you mentioned earlier against the Cavaliers, where he won on the very final delivery of the game.
Well, he's been efficient. Only 4 dot balls and no dot balls since the 8th over. So every single time he's been on strike, he's scoring. That's what you need to do when you get set.
Wow, was he connected with that? Deron Davis has taken this game on by the scruff of his neck, and he's succeeding for the New Jersey Stallions at the moment.
Gonna need to get the 3rd umpire out. We got a lost ball into the creek, out beyond the boundary at Church Street Park. And again, misfiring on the length. He was going for Yorker on the stumps, but just doesn't get it full enough. And Davis shows no mercy.
That is going to be one of the biggest strikes I've seen at Church Street Park from Deron Davis. And he just sized it up. Once he saw that the length was going to be full, it's a tough game as a bowler, especially at this stage. When you miss that Yorker length, it becomes in that hitting zone for the big man. What a shot.
That's what I like to call the Cobra Kai cricket. Nikhil, strike first, strike hard, no mercy from Davis. Only 1 dot ball since he's come to the crease. 2 fours, 2 sixes. And we talked about it earlier, whether or not it was the right call to bring him in instead of Jesse Singh. Well, I think he's answered that question in no uncertain terms.
Pace off this time, but he slapped it past the head of Colin Archibald. This is some innings on display here at Church Street Park. One of might, one of power, and one of... I've lost adjectives, Peter Danapena, because of shots like this.
Well, change of angle does not work for Archibald. He came around the wicket. You see this often now in T20 cricket where you come around the stumps to try and slant it across. Batter on strike, so if it's a left-hander on strike, a left arm will come around the wicket. If it's a right-hander on strike, the right arm bowler will come around the wicket, and that's basically to try and slant it all the way across to create a very awkward angle to try and hit the ball. But nothing awkward about that boundary from Davis. Again, gets a length delivery and just slams it back down the pitch. And now a long discussion ensues between Dane Pete, Colin Archibald, and some other senior members of the squad to try and come up with a solution for the questions being posed here by Davis. They've yet to find an answer here so far in the last 2 overs.
Well, that was very high, asking the question, and the wide given by the square leg umpire, Matin Imamdar.
Well, that was very generous, I have to say. There was maybe a bit of influence from Davis on strike. He let it pass, and then he immediately stretched his arms out to square leg to Matin Imamdar. On the side angle, you can understand a bit more why it was given a wide on height. Very, very marginal from the initial shot, it looks like, but Matin Imamdar at square leg signals it as a wide on height.
11 from the first 2 deliveries. It's been a really good start to the over. Goes short again. And wanting the wide, Davis to run, and there is another wide. A no ball signal this time, and it's going to be a free hit. After 17 overs and 18 overs, really, of real control, the Morrisville Raptors, because of the power of Deron Davis, they've lost their way.
Well, mental lapse here from Archibald. You can't bowl 2 in a row like that on height, and that's why the no ball was signaled. It's not for overstepping. It's for bowling consecutive deliveries on height that are out of reach. And if you do it the second time, that's why the no ball was signaled. So a very, very costly mental error here by Archibald. And it's going to produce a free hit here for Davis.
Free hit delivery. Bowls well, goes wide Yorker. Colin Archibald, and much more like it. It's a tough game. Margin of error so small. But Colin Archibald, Matthew Ford, 2 of the death specialists in this Raptors team. And Dane Pete will be a bit concerned, I think, the fact that they've got up to 150, you look at after the 15th over, there were just 99 runs.
Well, we've seen him bowl the short ball twice here to Davis. If he goes short again, fine leg and third man are up in the ring. I wonder if he might see Mukamala try and just flick it or ramp it over fine leg. And now, in fact, we're going to get a change in the field. Fine leg has gone back to negate that shot. So you've got fine leg, deep backward square, deep mid wicket, long on, and a cover sweeper in place. Mid-off is coming up in the ring. So 4 boundary riders on the leg side. Change in the field with mid-off coming up in the ring. And you got to be careful on the length here if you're Archibald.
Goes full. Should just be 1. 2 is the call, but Matthew Ford is so good in the field, so quick. And it now leaves just 2 deliveries remaining. The 150 comes up. And what a way to get to 150 because of the power of Daron Davis. 32 from 14 deliveries. He struck at over 200. And this was exactly what the New Jersey Stallions needed. A lot of questions were asked about their depth and sort of the lower order power. But Daron Davis, well, he says, no need to worry, no need to fear, I'm here.
And another change in the field for Davis. Backward point is put out on the rope. Mid-on comes into the ring. So you've got backward point, extra cover sweeper, and a long off in place, as well as deep backward square and a deep mid wicket.
In the air, Matthew Ford under it. And Matthew Ford takes the catch in the end. The fireworks from Daron Davis comes to an end, but the damage is done as the 150 comes up. A good catch, though, by Ford at long on, never easy, but it was all about the length. Always tough to hit down the ground from that 6 to 9 meter range.
Yeah, clever bowling here. And a simple catch from Ford. Again, he had the boundary protection at long on. Davis was trying really to go over mid-off. Mid-off was up in the ring, so we tried to create a little bit of room to go back down the ground over mid-off with the boundary exposed on that side, but just a good line to tuck him up and deny that opportunity, and it creates the wicket.
Daron Davis going for 32. And now the score, 150 for the loss of 5.
So Jesse Singh, the captain, is going to come out for the last ball, but he is going to be off strike. So Asai Mukamala, a chance for a red inker here. 51 not out at the moment. Can he finish it off with a boundary? 4 or 6. Get the Stallions up to what would be a very, very competitive total.
They want 2. It's a final delivery. They've got to come back. And they're very quick. Jesse Singh and Satija Mukamala, they do come back for 2. So it will mean that the New Jersey Stallions get exactly the par score in this 2022 season. The 13 matches being played here. Par score 152 from a position of 99 for 3 after 15 overs. They'll take that, but I think they would have wanted maybe 10 to 15 more runs. This young man, though, 18 years old, another 50 to his name. For the 2nd season in a row, he's been a standout. He's been brilliant.
33 off the last 12 balls. Big finish for the Stallions, but did they leave it too late? Very sluggish start because of the discipline in the field by the Raptors. Long stretches without boundaries, and then finally with Davis coming to the crease in the last 4 overs, gave them the finish they were looking for, but this is going to be a total. I feel like the hosts might be the favorites to chase it, Nikhil.
Well, we'll have to see. 152 for 5. Of course, the team, the Morrisville Raptors, coming 2nd in that Southern Division, up against the winners of the Eastern Conference. A half century from both Dominic Recchi and Satija Mukamala has meant that they were able to get to 152. But it was all about the power of Davis Daron. 32 from just 15 deliveries. And I think a competitive total on what's been a difficult surface to score on, especially against spin.
And Colin Archibald concedes 16 in the last over at the death, but does take 2 wickets. Standout, though, Obis PNR, 3 for 27. Very, very clever with his subtle changes of pace and flight to get 3 wickets and help restrict the Stallions.
Well, an eventful innings to start the conference finals weekend. And the Morrisville Raptors and the New Jersey Stallions. The Raptors winning the toss, bowling first. A couple of good strokes early. But from Dominic Rickey and Anthony Bramble, the opening pair that's been so consistent for the New Jersey Stallions in the season. But Anthony Bramble, what a wicket this was for Colin Archibald. First game back off of international duty. Took a really good catch from Aditya Padala to dismiss him. But Dominic Rickey, who's been in good form, third half century this season. That was a real statement piece over mid wicket. Teja Mukamala and him, the two put on a 72-run partnership. He played those classical strokes through the offside as he so often does. Such a touch player, but such a good time of the cricket ball. And strike rate as well. 129, just hit 3 boundaries, was a ready score from deliveries of all length. Dominic Rickey supported him well. And it just sensed that the game was shifting in the favor of the New Jersey Stallions when these two are at the crease, building the platform needed for a big finish. A couple of strokes through point. Couple down the ground. Dominic Rickey went inside out of extra cover as he does so well. That was a misfield from Ron Fatke that they would have wanted to get back. But then as soon as he crossed 50, Dominic Rickey, an easy catch for Colin Archibald, trying to hit against the spin and had to be dismissed. And from here is where the Morrisville Raptors fought their way back, because even though Teja Mukamala continued with a couple boundaries in the middle, they were able to just keep them to 6 runs in that 16th over, and then they took the wicket of Paul Palmer, trying to play across the line, and very soon after, Raymond Ramratan fell at that deep mid-wicket. 3 wickets for Obas Pinar, who was another stand-up with the ball in hand, his changes of pace. But this was where the game changed yet again, a roller coaster ride, because Daron Davis, with all of his power, took 17 runs from the Matthew Ford over. That was the 19th over. A couple of strokes through at that extra cover region. He's so good at using his feet. This was another good one. Back over Colin Archibald's head, over long on. One of the biggest strikes we've seen at Church Street Park. He just displayed his brute force and ability as he slapped that, flat batted it over Archibald, and then he had to be dismissed at some stage in that final over. But the damage had been done, helping his team get over that 150 mark to start the conference finals after losing the toss to Stallions post 152. And it means that the Morrisville Raptors, the team that finished second, but they are at home, of course, at Church Street Park. They'll need 153 to win. When we return, don't go anywhere. It will be an exciting run chase. We'll see you soon.
You're watching the Toyota Minor League Cricket Championship, presented by Sunoco.
I got it, Leslie, don't worry.
Side's okay, side's clear.
And Atlanta, 63 from 98 balls. Fire 198, Yorkers 136. I was asking on this screen, right? Could I have one of these two? You know, they just still camera. They still one. Yeah, right here, so that I can just see everyone. Thanks. Sorry for the trouble.
You're watching the Toyota Minor League Cricket Championship, presented by Sunoco.
Well, the conference finals of this 2022 Toyota Minor League Cricket Championship, presented by Sunoco, of course, as the action continues from Church Street Park. And the points table, the Atlanta Fire, the Morrisville Raptors winning the 2 games last weekend to help them come up in the Southern Division and come out of that Southern Division. The Fire in action on their way to victory against the Manhattan Yorkers. This team that finished 2nd place in that Eastern Conference. At this minute, the Atlanta Fire batting first, scoring 198 for 7. And the Yorkers 136 for 7 in the pursuit. They need 63 more runs. But here at Church Street Park, it is the Morrisville Raptors who need 153 more runs to win. And they'll just need to go at 7.5. You look at the long batting lineup that they've got. They will bat themselves to get that pretty much every day of the week. Good to have Aman Patel alongside me as we get ready for the resumption.
An incredible first innings if you're talking about the Morrisville Raptors holding the New Jersey Stallions to 152. Just needing a total of 153, like you mentioned, with the batting prowess of guys like Obis PNR, Lahiru Malanta up top the order. We've seen Vinod Kandaswamy get off to starts, and then you add Colin Archibald, Dane Pete, and Matthew Ford in the back end. But you haven't faced the likes of Jesse Singh yet this tournament. Jesse Singh, of course, more known as Jasdeep Singh, plays for USA Cricket. He's fresh off of his duties overseas, but such a vital part of this New Jersey Stallions setup. And the captain, and last year was so good in partnership with Justin Dill. He's going to open the bowling. Hasn't really been amongst the wickets like he would like to be. 10 innings, only 8 wickets, but a 5.12 economy. So if he can have a special day, the Stallions will feel really good about what they can do to trying to defend 153.
Yeah, for the Morrisville Raptors team, a team that, of course, come in as 2nd place, but they've got the advantage of playing at their home venue, even though they finished 2nd. That's because the Stallions, they wanted to play their cricket at the glorious, the grand, the beautiful Church Street Park. They have had some struggles, though, with that top 3. We do see Rohan Fadke with the pads on. He's been up and down the order, drafted in today. We have seen a couple of options. Sanjay Stanley tried at number 3. Lahiru Malanta, well, he has been Mr. Consistent at the top of the order. Just twice, Aman Patel has he scored less than 25 runs. That in itself is such an amazing stat.
Yeah, and it's just, not only does he score, but he just scores quickly. You always find him amongst the boundaries early. He's someone who can just turn the gears in the right direction. Bats at a strike rate just a touch under 150, 149. Talking about 5 50s this season, 19 sixes, 53 fours. So he's someone who just keeps things really sharp early on and takes pressure off the non-striker. You see Rohan Fadke standing next to him. He opened earlier this year with Lahiru Malanta when they went down to Florida. But ever since then, it's been Vinod Kandaswamy. So it'll be interesting to see where they go up top the order. But wherever they go, the Stallions have to see them back in the dugout quickly.
What is a highly rated New Jersey Stallions bowling lineup, one that has helped this team win many games this season. The fact that they've only lost 2 games tells you how dominant they've been in this 2022 Toyota Minor League Cricket Championship presented by Sunoco. And the openers make their way to the middle. It is not Rohan Fadke. It is the 2 that have done it pretty consistently throughout the tournament. Vinod Kumar Kendaswamy, Lahiru Malanta. And they will, I think, this plays right in the game of Kendasamy, someone that likes to take his time to get in on a tougher surface. And of course, this coverage of the conference finals wouldn't be possible without our corporate sponsors, Dafa News, Sunoco, and our title sponsor, Toyota. It's all unfolding here at Church Street Park. This could go either way because these, even though it's a total on the lower side, 152 is par. You never know if you take early wickets, the New Jersey Stallions, what they would be able to produce.
And again, they're turning to Jesse Singh. He's going to be one of the guys, but that bowling lineup is not just him. You talk about guys like Manoj Acharya, who they lured over from the Manhattan Yorkers last year. But Sachin Muralapu, he's someone who also comes in highly rated, and he's someone who can be so detrimental. 14 wickets in his 13 innings at a 5.59 economy. But someone who's come up as of late for the New Jersey Stallions is a man by the name of Preet Shah, a young man. He played in that minor league youth tournament and was really good there. And off spinner, he's taken 5 wickets in 2 innings. And on this type of wicket, natural turf wicket, will be someone of interest for the New Jersey Stallions.
Well, the one thing that New Jersey Stallions did, they went to the drawing board after coming runners-up in 2021 and were able to add some big pieces to their team. Lahir Malanta and Vinod Kumar Kendasamy. Malanta, boy, has he been special in his first season for this Morrisville Raptors team, and he loves playing his cricket at Church Street Park. He's gone past 500 runs this season, and he will be looking to add to that tally. Just batted 12 times, averages over 40. His partner, Vinod Kumar Kendasamy, hasn't been in the runs as much as Malanta, but he did play a couple of match-winning innings. That 50 he scored against the Atlanta Lightning just a weekend ago showed you the quality he possesses. Jesse Singh, just selected for that USA team, was just in Scotland, in Aberdeen, competing in that CWC League 2 matchup. Into the attack. Tons of experience, and as you mentioned, Aman Patel, he has been on the smaller side in terms of his wickets. Would want to correct that in the final 2 weekends of the tournament. Always tough, though, being a captain, having to lead your team. Slip in place. First delivery, here we go. Around the wicket, Jesse Singh. Oh, look at that. Straight away, a lot of movement for Singh. Some inward movement. Naturally, you will get that ball to tail in to the left-hander.
A very fiery Jesse Singh. You can see by the way he runs in with a full head of steam. One of the quickest bowlers in all the country. And this delivery moved well in to Lahir Malanta. So the swing is not out of the question and could be an early factor in taking those wickets. That's why you see first slip in play.
It's also why he's come around the wicket, because of that movement in. Down the leg side again. Want to start the ball wide and bring it back to Lahir Malanta. Have seen some lateral movement for the seamers with that brand new ball. So far, though, has to pitch and get that line a lot straighter.
Yeah, he's just starting too far down the leg side. I would be interested to see if he does elect to come over at some point and push the ball across and let it swing back from there. Just creating that angle that's always difficult. We talk about left-handed bowlers bowling into right-handers. That swing back in creates problems. We'd be interested to see if they do something like that.
He has gone over the wicket. Lahir Malanta, sorry, Jesse Singh to Lahir Malanta, definitely down the leg side. But he is better in terms of the tactics to bring that slip fielder into play. See it again, wide of the crease, Jesse Singh.
Yeah, and that one clearly just going down the leg side, but I like this tactic more from Jesse Singh with the amount of swing he's able to extract. If he starts that one on middle stump, you could see the end for the 3rd time of Lahir Malanta under 25.
Very straight to Malanta. We want to get that sort of on a 4th or 5th stump line because of the feel that he's got inside the power play, and also that slip fielder. You mentioned, though, the Stallions before the innings began, what they've been able to do this season. Good seam position from Jesse Singh. What they've been able to do, they added Acharya, but together with Manoj Acharya and their core from last season, 4 out of the 10 top wicket takers from 2021 are in this Stallions team. And it's why they've been so menacing with the ball in hand. And even when the batting has failed, it's been their seamers that have pulled them through. So today on a surface which has been on the tougher side for batters to start, We've seen that 150 total be a bit challenging to chase down. If your seamers can hit the straps early, maybe take 2 or 3 early wickets inside the power play, all of a sudden you're well on top of this game.
Yeah, again, it's not an easy surface to bat on just because there's still overcast outside, so the ball's still going to move. There's still green grass on the wicket, so plenty in it for the seamers. And you mentioned 4 of the 10 wicket takers from last year returning. Obviously, Justin Dill not part of this side, but with the addition of Manoj Acharya, they have plenty of pace, plenty of swing they can extract.
Comes down the track. He loves that stroke, Lahir Malanta, where he just opens the face and positions it so well over the offside. First runs for him off the bat.
It's almost a trap. He sets in for the bowler. He makes that initial movement. So Jesse Singh just tries to push it out wide, but that's exactly where he wants. He just wants to free up his hands, and he keeps it over the top of point for 4 runs. If you're Jesse Singh, rather be a little bit too straight onto Lahir Malanta.
He got success with those 2 deliveries angled at the pads. Now tries to go wide, changes the strategy, and he's made to pay. So how will he rebound? How will he come back? Jesse Singh has got to start well for the Stallions team. They don't have a lot of runs to play with. Goes short this time. Deep mid-wicket in place, but he will have no chance. And it's the timing and the power of Lahir Malanta. All of a sudden, after 3 dot balls consecutively, a great start. 10 from 2 deliveries.
He's not afraid of the short ball, Lahir Malanta, and that fielder behind square, just able to keep it in front of him, and a couple of bounces over the rope for 4 runs. Again, Lahir Malanta, once he gets going, once he finds the middle of the bat, it's hard to get him out. We talked about it just 2 times. He's been dismissed under 25. And if he keeps going like this, it could be a quick chase for the Morrisville Raptors.
On the leg side, it beats Anthony Brown, but it's going to be more runs because that fine leg fielder is very wide. So 3 boundaries consecutively to end the over. A lot of thinking for Jesse Singh to do, the captain. 14 for none after 1.
Let's go, let's go, let's go.
Not only do they need early wickets, they need the wicket of Lahir Malanta because he's been so dangerous at the top of the order for this Morrisville Raptors team. Plenty of batting to come. Obas Pinyar, and then of course the power of Colin Archibald, Matthew Ford with their all-round ability. Run 5K into the team today because of his batting ability, and then we already know what we can get from the all-rounders like Shiva Kumar Duvarapu, Dane Pete, who's won games for the Raptors in the season. So it is and will be a challenge.
You need wickets consistently and often, and again, we've seen the Morrisville Raptors use basically the whole bullpen to come out and chase down totals. Talk about when we were in Atlanta, Aditya Padala came in, hit a 6 that changed the match to send them over the line. So they got plenty of options with the bat in hand. But Nikhil, this was one of the guys I was talking about with the ball in hand. Preet Shah, he's come up late for the New Jersey Stallions, an under 19 in his own right. He's someone who's taken 5 wickets through his 2 innings. He's going to be used inside the power play here on this natural turf wicket.
Just the 5 wickets in 6 matches. It is a bold move to go to the spin early on. Inside edge, but it run out chance as well. Milanta's so quick. You think that the fact that you've got left-handed Kendaswamy has enticed Jasdeep Singh to go to the off-spin option. Have that ball spinning away from Kendaswamy, but for someone like Lahir Malanta, he will really be backing himself to take on the young Shah.
And Preet Shah, again, the off-spinner. He's going to turn it away from Lahir Malanta. So even though Malanta is going to want to go after Preet, Preet, very smart. I think Jesse Singh is going to like that tactic of just having that one spinner that moves it away, get Lahir to play across the line, similar to what we saw Obis PNR do to Dominic Rickey, and see if he can get a dismissal in that fashion.
We go, Preet. Get us one here, Preet. Get us one here, boy. Side. Good.
Slip in place. I like the attacking move from Jasdeep Singh. You need to take wickets. You don't have a lot of runs to play with on the stumps, but he's so good through extra cover. Lahir Malanta. And you look at the way he's gone about things at Church Street Park as well. He's made this a fortress this season. 250s, Scores of 50, 60, 47, and 29 for Lahira Malanta at Church Street Park, as well as one low score of 4. But he averages 38 at this very venue. Extremely well stopped by Davis, Daron Davis at that point region. Yeah, it was just a correction. I said earlier the plan would have been for Shah to bowl at Kendasamy, but it's actually to bowl at the left-handed Malanta. So I think Kendasamy's got to be the one that takes on the ball spinning back into him. It's been all about the line though. Really good start from Preet Shah.
He's not a huge turner of the ball, Preet Shah, but he's someone who just keeps it on a length, mixes up the pace, but it's just on that very consistent line right outside off stump, and just makes the batters do something different. It's a you miss, I hit type of bowling. Someone who typically bowls in the power play. He's very comfortable bowling in the power play, and that's why Jesse Singh, he's elected to use the young man.
We know the challenges of bowling spin with just 2 fielders allowed outside the circle. It's got to be very precise down the track across the line, but that deep mid-wicket fielder should do well to cut it off. Dominic Ricky at deep mid-wicket. So far, so good. Just 3 runs conceded. And they want desperately that wicket of Lahir Malanta, because when he gets past 20, he is so hard to stop. I was just getting back to that, the way that he's gone about things at this very venue. Those 50s that he made in consecutive innings for the Raptors were scintillating, and it helps them grow so much confidence in that batting lineup when he goes and does well. Because it just sort of eases the pressure off of Jacob Espino and some of the other of those contributors in that batting lineup when you have a good platform. End of 2, 7, 18 for none.
Mentioned it, Nikhil, for the Morrisville Raptors. Lahir Malanta, he's been the story up top the order. He's 13 from 8 at the moment. Vinod Kandaswamy, he's a little bit slow to get off the mark, 2 from 4. But there's all the depth that they have with the introduction of Archibald and Matthew Ford. Dane Pete has scored in the 40s. You know Obis PNR. Sivakumar Duparapu is going to be big. Abhiram Bolasetti at this very venue, 44 from 22. So we know he can come in a pinch and play that role. And we've already seen what Aditya Badala and company can do. And I know these Morrisville fans are going to want to see something similar. They're going to want to see it from Lahir Malanta, Vinod Kandaswamy, and get Morrisville over the line early, get this win, get themselves some rest as they head into match 2 later today.
Sachin Mailavarapu into the attack. He's caused problems for the batters all season, but he's also caused me problems with that tongue twister of a name. But he's so skilled, and the back-to-back overs are spin in the power play.
Get it, side.
Left arm spin of Sachin Mailavarapu, and you look at the 14 wickets he's taken. It's all about the economy rate for me. Just 5.5 runs he's conceded. Bowling inside that power play is stellar with that new ball.
Mailavarapu, he's just been so consistent, carrying that form over from last year.
Crafty from Kendasamy. It beats that field inside the circle. Doesn't have enough. Usually it's a very quick outfield, but I wonder how much due from night before. We had some rain, how much that's affected things here.
Yeah, Kandaswamy, he plays this shot quite often. He's always looking to score, always looks to play that scoring option. He's not afraid to just play a little bit more unorthodox. And for Sachin, again, he's someone who just keeps it so tight, so consistent. Don't want to get predictable. That's where Kandaswamy tends to go and play just that little cheeky stroke. Want to keep mixing things up. Just don't let him settle in. Again, even though he hasn't converted Kandaswamy, he's just been so vital in getting starts off for the Morrisville Raptors.
Asking the question was going across the line, Kendasamy, but maybe just sliding down.
You see what you're looking at, Sats. Come on, boys. Don't come in too hard.
You can see this one here changes it up a bit, a little bit shorter. And Vinod Kandaswamy, he was already committed to going and playing that paddle sweep. This one did look a bit high for my liking. And again, but asking the right questions, Sachin Mailavarapu.
Here you go, Sachin. Finish off. Close out.
The left arm spinner in operation. Run out chance. No, pretty home. Pretty safe in the end. So still the slip in operation. We've seen it for the first 2 overs. Straight in the air. And taken. It's the big wicket. It's the big fish. Lahiro Melanta's gone. And the spin working for Jesse Singh and this New Jersey Stallions team. What a breakthrough to get early.
We talked about it. Lahiro Melantu, so crucial for the Morrisville Raptors and the starts they want to get off to. And Milavarapu, he's someone who's a wicket taker, comes in straight away. All that Lahiro Melanta could find was Jesse Singh standing there at mid-off. And the simplest of catches for him, and the big fish walks.
Melanta, just 13 runs for him, which is substandard by his margins, but he's got to go. A big wicket for the New Jersey Stallions. First wicket falls at 20 inside the 3rd over. Rohan Fatke comes to the middle. The youngster has been up and down the order this season, but he's a very talented young player, part of that USA Under-19 setup. So he will be looking to get that start for his team inside the power play. Still 3 overs remaining inside the power play after this. Been interested to see the way that they've used him. Sometimes they've looked at his power. Just 13 runs this... Sorry, correction. 28 runs this season. Aman Patel has opened though on 2 occasions prior to this innings. That was the wicket again. Melanta likes that shot through extra cover, likes to go down the ground, mid-off up in the circle. But Jasdeep Singh not going to put that down. Sachin Mailavarapu, as he so often does, takes early wickets for the Stallions team.
Yeah, now it's important here for the Morrisville Raptors to not lose wickets quickly. Sachin has his effect on teams where he just finds ways to take consecutive wickets. We saw it last week, him do it to the New Jersey Somerset Cavaliers. You don't want to have it happen to you if you're the Raptors and bring out Obis PNR this early. What can Rohan Fatke create?
Good shot to get off the mark with the long off back. But what an over for Mailavarapu and what an over for the New Jersey Stallions. Getting the prize wicket of Melanta. End of 3, 21 for 1. The Morrisville Raptors, Vinod Kumar Kendaswamy will have to shoulder some of the responsibility with Mr. Reliable Lahir Melantha dismissed. Still a lot of batting to come. They just have to go up above 7.5 runs per over.
Keep going here, guys. Keep going.
Jacobus Pinar. Of course, Shiva Kumar Duvarapu, who's batted at number 5 this season. And the all-round ability of Archibald, Ford, Pete.
Middle stump, please. Middle stump.
He's going to be shy yet again into the attack.
Go ahead, boys. Come on,
Prithia would know about Rohan Fatke. They both played in that minor league youth championship down in Houston. Prithia dismissing Rohan Fatke a couple of times, and Fatke hitting him for a couple of big boundaries. Scored a 50 down there, so it's not like he hasn't batted throughout this year. He's got some runs under his belt.
Well, one thing you've seen from the spinners today, they've been a lot slower. I think it's just to allow the ball to do something off the surface. Sachin Mailavarapu was very slow, and he forced Lahiro Melanta to have to create his own power. He just went straight to Jasdeep Singh, didn't time it, didn't get it off the middle of the bat. And you can just see what that wicket meant to the Stallions. Excellent bowling across the right-hander. Good from the young off-spinner, even under some pressure. Bowling to the right-handed Kendaswamy, keeping him pretty quiet so far in his first 9 deliveries. Just 5 runs scored. Has picked that one up though, and has picked it up well. Vinod Kumar Kendaswamy goes all the way for a maximum, just what the doctor had ordered for the Morrisville Raptors.
Well, Kendaswamy's been put up top the order because of just his aggressive nature. And he got one in his arc and gets it away from that fielder, deep mid-wicket. Gets it all the way over the rope for 6. And again, exactly what you needed if you're the Morrisville Raptors. A little bit of a step down the track to attack Preet Shah's length. Gets it all the way, and a big boundary there for the Morrisville Raptors. Just eases some of the pressure that was building in the previous couple of overs.
Get it. Get it.
Much better because he corrects that length. Don't want to get too full to Kendaswamy. Just give him the arms to go into the onside. Always tough as a spinner, bowling with just 2 feeters allowed outside the circle. Much quicker this time. There's that deep mid-wicket fielder, just be a single. Brings young Ron Fadke on strike.
And again, Rohan Fadke, better top the order down in Florida, more in the middle order. Hasn't really seen much with the bat, much time with the bat. A valuable asset. Again, number 3 has just been a ropey position for the Raptors. Sanjay Stanley hasn't been what they wanted from him. And Rohan Fadke just finding ways to get singles at the moment. That'll do it for the 4th over, 30 for the loss of 1.
1, 2, 3.
Took that last corner pretty quick.
Sir, I need 1 hand on the roof, 1 hand on the pump.
Timeout for Sunoco Go rewards.
Keep pumping.
With new Sunoco Go rewards, when you fuel, you save because rewards come first.
Hey, you want it, Fetch? You want it, Fee?
Yeah, apparently he does this.
Hey?
Well, just 4 overs bowled. 3 of them have been spin. Sachin Mailavarapu, who bowled that successful 3rd over and got the wicket, the big wicket of Lahir Malanta. They're very animated Anthony Bramble, so he tries to lead his team to victory. Starting well again. Ron Fadke, his father in attendance, and he'll want to make him proud. Good to see this familial support at the venue. Getting some purchase. Sachin Mailavarapu, and it's all about that slow pace. It just allows the ball to deviate off the surface. You just never know. He's so meticulous, very skilled finger spinner.
So skilled, and again, when he wasn't playing, you just felt that they needed one more. They needed him. He's always amongst the wickets and keeps pressure on. So now you have to take on the Jesse Singhs. You have to take on the Manoj Acharyas. You have to take on the Preet Shahs. And he's just that pin in the middle. Just keep things moving in the right direction.
Another dot delivery. Excellent bowling from Mailavarapu. And it's also good planning from Jasdeep Singh, because he would have looked at that first innings and saw the 3 spinners being used, Dane Pete, Obas Pinyar, and Kartikeya Jagadish. Definitely down the leg side. And out of those 3 spinners, Aman Patel, none of them conceded more than 7 runs and over in terms of the economy. So it told you the story that spin was tougher to face on this surface so far. And so far, he's gone to 4. Well, 3 of his first 4 overs have all been spin. The 1 over he did bowl of seam, which Jasdeep Singh bowled himself, went for 14 runs. Other than that, it's been tough to score on here at Church Street Park.
Yeah, we were praising Dane Pete earlier about how he's not someone who just tries to give himself overs. He understands when the pitch is doing something for somebody else. Jesse Singh following that same rubric. Again, understanding that the spinners are so much more difficult to play at the moment, and the spinners are bowling in the right plans as well. They're rewarding Jesse Singh's decision and producing great deliveries.
Faster this time is the arm ball from Sachin Mailavarapu. But an excellent way to close out the over. Just 1 run conceded, end of 5, 31 for 1. Ron Fadke has opened the batting twice in this tournament. Today in at number 3. And he will be looking to make an impact for his team. It's been a slow start, but pretty much on par of where they need to be. At a similar stage, the New Jersey Stallions were 31 for 1. The young members, the cricket-loving population in North Carolina out in their numbers, and you expect that crowd to grow as the day goes on. Remember, we've got a second match coming your way, 6 p.m. under lights, and it's going to be more spin into the attack. Deron Davis, who was so powerful with the bat in hand, struck it over 200 to get his team up to that 150, which you never know after you see the first 5 overs of the second innings. Could be a very challenging total into the attack.
Let me go. Pressure, D. Pressure, boys. Come on, come on. Choke them, guys. Come on, Darren. Sachin.
So with his left arm spin, he will be looking to cause some sort of difficulty for the two right-handers at the crease. Goes in the air, but it is wide of that long off fielder. And even Nino Henry, who's so quick, can't cut it off. A great way to open the account for Ron Fadke, a great way to start the over.
Yeah, he got the width, and he goes after it. Recognizes the field. It's a safe shot with long off, very, very straight.
Don't worry. Come on, D, come on, Sachin!
They know the importance of keeping the boundaries to a minimum. In this innings, not a big spinner of the cricket ball. Deron Davis, but he is able to go stump to stump, very quick through the air. Almost like what we saw from Jacob Pinar, more of a container which then leads to wickets. Oh, very good shot, and the finger goes up. What a comeback after being struck in the offside for a boundary. The line becomes straighter, and the wicket goes the way of the New Jersey Stallions. Boy, did they need that.
Well, I think he was given out as much for the shot as anything else. Tries to reverse paddle this, and it looks like a deflection off the glove. But Vijay Malella says otherwise. You could see why Rohan Fadke was so unhappy with that decision. It looked like it took a big deviation off the glove. But Vijay Malella may have believed it was the arm missing the glove, and he can still be given out LBW if it does not connect on the glove. So Rohan Fadke out for 8. And it's 35 for 2 in the 6th.
Jacob Pinar, one of 2 leading run scorers for this Morrisville Raptors team. We've already seen Malanta, but they'll have a red mark next to his name because of the dominance he's been able to display in the 2 seasons, making the move from the Pacific Conference last year, where he captained the St. Louis Americans. Now on the Atlantic side of things, and what a season it's been. 427 runs, averaging 42 in the tournament. And at this very venue, he's been a dangerous player in this phase of the innings. But what a start it's been from the Stallions in terms of this bowling effort to take 2 wickets inside the power play and use a plethora of their spinners. Already 3 spinners into the attack. Field to start for Obas Pinar.
Get it, D, nice, D,
Starts with a dot delivery.
Sharp turn here, Darren, sharp turn!
You can see how Pinar attacks the left arm spinner ball spinning into him. He can hit with the spin into the onside, just one fielder that's super out on the boundary. So you have to be in that 4th or 5th stump line. Davis Deron. Excellently stopped from Manoj Acharya.
Come on! Close it out for me, close it out!
And you can hear the energy in the field from Davis.
Ball.
Bramble behind the stumps as well, doing a lot of talking.
Hold down.
Another dot. Oh, we thought it would have been a dot, but it goes straight through Paul Palmer. It's just going to be a single, but you don't want to let off this Morrisville Raptors team because the power play, you could say, belongs to New Jersey Stallions. They've taken 2 important wickets. This one going very neck and neck at the moment. 36 for 2 after 6.
Well, at the same stage, in the first inning, Stallions were 36 for 1. So that extra wicket making the difference right now for the Stallions in the field. And Malanta got off to such a hot start in that first over, cooled off very, very quickly after the 3 boundaries. Oh, Jesse Singh couldn't do it against the spin, and there you can see how things have fallen backwards since that first over. The only over of pace bowled in this chase. It's been a much different story against the spinners for the Raptors.
So just to update you in terms of some of the action at some of the other grounds, the Atlanta Fire and the Manhattan Yorkers, the other 2 teams competing in this Atlantic Conference. And rain currently halting play there, where the Yorkers, they still require some 63 more from 28 deliveries. Just 2 wickets in hand. PNR again, happy to just get 1 outside the power play. And then actually make that 2. Good running, good awareness from the Morrisville Raptors on the Pacific Conference, the Pacific side of things. Match Abana without a ball being bowled between the Dallas Mustangs and the Seattle Thunderbolts. Some inclement weather there.
Come on, lads.
Currently, as we speak, the Tigers and the Silicon Valley Strikers in action. Good running from PNR. He's got long strides and good awareness as well from Vinith Kumar Kendaswamy. Now, Peter Delapenna, they need 115, but they've not been in many situations where they don't have Lahir Malanta at one end. How do they go about this run chase on a ground that, of course, they know very well?
Well, they've still got Obis PNR. He's got the most sixes on the season for the Raptors with 24, 427 runs coming into today. So they've got the power if they need it, but more so they just need somebody to rotate the strike at the moment, just stretch this game out. Got a good start in that first over, but momentum has swung back sharply to the Stallions since then with the spinners.
Likes to play that sort of ramp, Vinith Kumar Kendaswamy, but it is tough against Maila Varapu because he does get that sort of grip in this surface. Are you surprised by Jesse Singh going to Maila Varapu because of how valuable he is for this 3rd over?
Well, he's just continuing to build the pressure. That's what they want. Deliveries like that, just continuing to heap the pressure on the former Singapore spinner. He's been in New York, New Jersey area for several years now as a banker, and they're banking on him to continue delivering quality spin here to keep them in the hunt for victory in the field.
This time wide outside the off stump, but again, bowling to his field, bowling extremely well. Sachin Maila Varapu, just 4 runs from the 7th over, 40 for 2.
Tell you what's so impressive about Maila Varapu is not just the quality of his overs, but also the fitness. For somebody who's spending long hours on Wall Street Monday through Friday, the fact that he's able to continue to dedicate himself to cricket and turn in performances like this in a playoff situation, just like he did last year for the Stallions on their run to the final, is a really standout contribution for the Stallions. And again, you can see that hot start that the Raptors got off to has cooled off very, very quickly since the introduction of spin.
And the introduction of this man into the game, not only with the ball in hand, but with the bat. He thumped it to all parts and really sort of lit the New Jersey Stallions on fire. We know momentum and how important it is in T20 cricket. And you just wonder how important the way that they finished the last 5 overs. They were just 99 after 15 overs. And then we're able to get 53 runs from the last 5. How much would that help their cause now with the new ball in hand? They've bossed the first 7 overs, able to take 2 wickets and keep that scoring rate to under 6 runs per over. Just a single. I don't think Obas Pinar will want to take too many risks because he knows that they're only chasing 153. A very gettable total. And also teams chasing at this very venue have been favored 17 times out of the 28 games have teams chased successfully. in the air, hasn't got it. It's straight in the lap of Jesse Singh. And it's another one for Daron Davis, who can do no wrong at Church Street Park in these conference finals. What a start to the innings this has been for the New Jersey Stallions.
Oh, he never really got close to the pitch of this ball. Good flight from Davis. Was on the charge early, but the length dragged back ever so slightly to make that a much more difficult shot. And Jesse Singh perfectly positioned on the rope at long on. Didn't have to move more than 1 or 2 yards to his right. Very, very straightforward catch.
Well, a miserable 14 for Vinod Kumar, 13 correction for Kendaswamy, just 19 deliveries. And now they lose their third correction, the Morrisville Raptors, 42 for 3. Aviram Bolisetti, the youngster, comes to the middle. You know he can hit the ball, strike it pretty powerfully. And it's been interesting to see the way he's developed this season. I know he was in that USA Under-19 setup more as a bowling all-rounder, but he's been used more for his batting this year. Saw him finish the game off with Matthew Ford, got 46.
Go ahead, lads. Let me work again. Let me work again.
See that quite often, guys who played at one role at junior level.
Get your mark. Get your
as
mark,
they mature,
he does
transform their roles. Bolisetti,
come on.
good example of that this year for the Raptors.
Hold on.
I think the way that this surface is played here today to start, it reminds me a lot of that 2021 season last year where we had the first edition of the minor league, of course, centered by Sunoco, where the par score for teams batting first was 128. It was a tough surface to bat on. Even in that final, just 140 was made by the Silicon Valley Strikers. Jesse Singh again taking a good catch. This reminds me a lot of that 2021 surface, which has been on the slower side. It's the second weekend in a row. It's the same surface has been used. I think you're beginning to see the spinners come into play a lot more. The two to the right of screen are fresh surfaces, which I think, according to head curator Pat, may be used for next weekend, providing they are ready in time, which could be fresher surfaces and much quicker surfaces. So a lot of variables at Church Street Park. Those are the two that are continuously worked on. Very green at the moment. Don't look like pitches just yet, Peter De La Pena, but they'll be ready. 43 for 3.
Yeah, if you're Daron Davis or Sachin Malvarapu, you're content to keep bowling on the one that they're using right now. You don't want to, like...
My son, he's so soft-spoken. Everyone says he's so good-looking, and he never forgets to call.
Hi, Mom. Born for your true self. The 2022 Tundra. Toyota. Let's go places.
Whoever you are, on the field, the dream is what drives us. Gear up for your dreams. Shop now at dreamcricketstore.com.
It's been spin and more spin at Church Street Park. 3 spinners used by the Morrisville Raptors. Already 4 used by the New Jersey Stallions, who have now got Raymond Ramratan with his leg spin into the attack. And interesting to see how Jacob Pinar, the left-hander, goes about this. Does he take on Ramratan? Because that asking right now has gone up past 9 runs and over.
Could see 16 out of the 20 overs here.
We go hit the stump
Bold using spin with the introduction of Ramratan.
Beautiful piece to start from Ramratan. Heard that from Anthony Brown. I was just going to ask you, Peter De La Pena, does he have that googly, the one out the back of the hand, to spin away from Jacob Pinar? No. Has he quite got that? He hasn't. And Paul Palmer doesn't make a mistake on the boundary. They've gotten the big wicket. The leg spin into the attack straight away. The ball spinning away, having to hit against the spin, Pinar. And the catch taken in the deep. Huge result for the Stallions.
Oh, he's been so valuable the last 2 seasons. The 22-year-old out of Jersey City just pitches it up, encourages the big heave, but going against the turn, produces a skyer straight down the ground to long on, and very good work by Palmer, who initially misjudged it coming in a bit far, but regathers himself to take it inside the open. Obis PNR, second leading scorer on the season for the Raptors, walks off for just 6. It's 43 for 4.
Pressure. One word to describe this inning so far. It's been all about the pressure built. They bowled well in tandem. And it's these two youngsters who are going to have to dig this Morrisville Raptors team out of a hole. Matthew Ford, known for his power hitting ability. I like the progressive move from Captain Dane Pete because he can bat. Coming off the back of a couple Super Cup hundreds back in Barbados in the 50-over format. He's definitely a very skilled player. Last couple of games for the Morrisville Raptors before he heads off to the Caribbean Premier League. But he's got his hands full now, facing the spin attack. They've got already 4 spinners being used by Jesse Singh and the Stallions.
There's an alpha dog move coming out here with the Talawas helmet on. Nikhil, you better show that he's CPL worthy with this performance. Coming out with that helmet on.
Come on, Ray, hit the pitch.
So 2 brand new batters at the crease. Bolisetti off the mark. You can hear Anthony Brown, but he's advising Ramaram Ratan, 2, of course, of Guyanese descent. Know each other very well, Bramble and Ram Ratan. It was all about the flight from the leg spinner.
And just pitching it that far outside off stump 2. Again, with the turn going away, you get it on that 6th, 7th stump line with the turn away. You try and heave it to the leg side. It's always going to go up in the air unless you really middle it, and not quite out of the middle. There's 40 with the Talawas helmet.
It was just 7 runs from the previous 2 overs, and it's why it led Jacob Espinard to play a shot like that.
It's gonna come, boys. You keep milling it.
Field, pretty standard field. He's got the long off, long on. The sweepers both on the off and on side. Gone! What a catch, what a wicket, what a breakthrough. The Stallions cannot be stopped at Church Street Park. It's why they topped the Eastern Division, and it's why they're here as group winners.
Well, Matthew Ford came out with the alpha dog move with the Talawas helmet, but Ray Ramratan comes out as the top dog in this battle. He was the leading fielder in the tournament last year, took the most catches by far of anybody in the competition, and it's through efforts like that you can see why he's such a superb fielder. That's not an easy chance to collect, but he dives forward, judges it well. Second ball duck for Matthew Ford, and it's 44 for 5.
Well, this is real trouble for the Morrisville Raptors, who still have batting to come. And it brings Colin Archibald, the first-class player from the West Indies, to the middle. The 124 runs in the 6th innings before he left for West Indies A duty. And he's back now for his team, and boy, will he have a big role to play. Took 2 wickets with the ball in hand, but he's got to come good because they're losing wickets and losing them quickly. 2 in the over, and 2 huge strikes for Ram Ratan. First of Jacob Espinard, and then of Matthew Ford, who just prodded one back. Look at the effort.
He's so good. He took an incredible catch on the ring at mid-off last year in the playoff match between these two sides. A one-handed leaping effort that was arguably one of the catches of the tournament, if not the catch of the playoffs. And here again, different stylistically, coming off his own bowling, but dives forward. He's such a good athlete. He's been playing senior cricket in New Jersey since the age of 8 or 9. Always one of the best fielders in any side he's ever been in, fielding at backward point typically. In the slog overs, he's at the straight boundary positions and the catching sequences. And then again, he shows how valuable he is off his own bowling anywhere in the field. Ray Ramratan, so good, just conceding 1 run off that over. 44 for 5 after 9.
Pressure on the skid now, boys. Come on.
Less than 5 runs per over being scored by the Morrisville Raptors at their home ground at Church Street Park in North Carolina. They've been shell-shocked. 153 is the score that they've got to get in the last over. Raymond Ramratan getting the wicket of Matthew Ford and Jacobus Pinar. Huge strikes for the Stallions. Well on top of things.
Again, the Jersey City product showing why he's been such an asset in the field. Not just his bowling, but his ability to field off his own bowling like that. Tremendous work.
And with a bowling lineup of Jasdeep Singh, the international player, Manoj Acharya, who's taken over 16 wickets this season. Nino Henry, who's played first-class cricket. We've only seen one solitary over of pace bowling, and it tells you about this surface, and also good communication, good planning of using conditions.
Well, at this rate, it might be the only over of pace we see today. The spinners are strangling the Raptors at the moment. They might take all 10 wickets at this rate without the 20 overs being used.
Two is the call. That was the wicket of Jacobus Pinar. They get through for the second. They've got to do that to help ease some of the pressure in terms of that scoring rate. And you're right, Peter De La Pena, because they've got 4 options in terms of their spin bowling. Shah's only bowled 2 overs. Myla Varapu has got 1. Daron into his 3rd, and Ramratan still 3 remaining. They could easily close out this innings with 16 overs of spin. I'm sure they've got a couple other part-time options up their sleeve as well.
One more like they blow.
I believe Dominique Rickey, if they are really desperate for it, he's capable of bowling spin as well.
Mukamala, maybe. Satyajan Mukamala, the youngster.
Let me go there.
Roll his arm over.
Dominique Rickey can bowl off spin. I've never seen Sai Mukamala bowl. That would be a first.
But I also think Jasdeep Singh won't mind going to Nino Henry or Manoj Acharya, because on watching Nino Henry a couple of times this tournament, he can roll his fingers over deliveries and bowl those cutters into the pitch, which will be a challenge to score from. This performance, though, from Daron Davis, arguably man of the match-esque. It's far from over this, but the way he's batted and then carried over into the bowling display, 2 for 11. The asking rate up to 10 and over now. Gonna have to rebowl that one. Typical commentator's curse, praising him, and then sprays one right outside that off stump. But you can see the intention, trying to force Archibald to hit into the offside as opposed to down the ground where he's so powerful. Things happening off the surface. Things happening.
Keep working, Darren. Good length. That's you. Let me go here, last more, boys.
Gone again. It's back. Or so I thought. Anthony Bramble took off in a frenzy. The New Jersey Stallions thought they had their man, but the finger of Vijay Malala stayed down. What a big passage of play. What a big moment in this game.
There was a definite sound. Was it bat on pad or bat on ball? He's playing a long way away from his body. The other option, bat on ground. He's playing well away from his body. I thought I heard a clear noise. You could see why Anthony Bramble was so excited and why Daron Davis ran away in celebration, breaking out the executioner in this chase. But PJ Malala thought otherwise, Nikhil.
Well, Peter, what's telling to me is that the fact that Daron Davis did not even look back. So it tells me, even though we're not privileged to be there in the middle, they thought there was a prominent edge. Sorry that we don't have the Ultra Edge, but very soon with our continued sponsorship of Dafa News, Toyota, and Sunoco, who knows? We could have the Ultra Edge next season.
On the flip side, if he did edge it, that is a spectacular acting effort from Colin Archibald to sell it. He just stayed there, just kept on scratching out his guard for the next ball. Not bothered one bit as a wide brings up the 50 for the Raptors.
Dot ball to end. An eventful over. Couple of wides, couple of chances for a wicket from Daron Davis. Still yet to concede a boundary in his 2 overs. The 50 comes up, but for the loss of 5 at the end of 10 overs, the halfway stage of the innings.
Let me go, boys. Come on.
Let's go, fellas. Keep your head up. Come on, boys. I know. Keep working, fellas.
And what seemed like a par total at first, 153 to win, all of a sudden they need 103 from the final 10 overs. And it's going to have to be the all-rounders to do it. Archibald, very capable, as well as Abiram Bolisetti. And that red dipping below the blue with a couple dots. Stutters for the Morrisville Raptors.
Well, I said I felt the Raptors were slight favorites at the halfway point because I was banking on Obis PNR to make a big contribution.
Bolisetti, this young man has got serious power. And boy, did they need that. Just 2 full from Raymond Ramertan. And he's not going to miss out. The young right-hander.
Well, if PNR gets out early, it's going to require a big contribution from one of the youngsters, and Abiram Bolisetti stepping up in a big way. The hometown product.
Come on, guys, come on. Side.
Clearing the ropes.
Let me go.
And we saw Rohan Fadke's dad out in the crowd before, no doubt. Abiram Bolisetti's got family in the venue today cheering him on too.
Goes full again. This time though, it's not off the middle. And it's put down. Jesse Singh, such a reliable option. It's why he rides and protects those boundaries. Listen to the intensity around at Church Street Park. They know how important every wicket is. This is the conference finals, Peter Della Pena.
Well, he skewed that one. He was going for long on, and the turn produced the splice of the bat to have that float up to Jesse. We saw him take a very simple catch earlier, and this one, for his standards, should have been held on to as well. Got there in plenty of time. Waist tight. That's a straightforward catch by Jesse Singh standards.
I love the courage from Raymond Ramertan. Flighting deliveries, asking to be hit. Just be a single. The very first delivery, he was swatted back over his head for a maximum. And the very next delivery followed with a similar length. And Abiram Bolisetti having to hit against a spin really should have been taken, but he survives.
We saw Jesse take a very easy chance at long on off Deron Davis in the 8th over. It's a very similar chance. Previous one, he stayed on the rope, barely had to move. This one, he had to come in about 5 yards, but it should have been held.
Excellent delivery, excellent delivery. Good luck hitting that off of that length. Very first delivery, it was a maximum. Flighted, way too full. And it was, again, what I love about this, Ramertan flighting the next one, but put down by Jesse Singh. Speaking of flight, another one that beats the outside edge. This is meticulous from the spinners of the New Jersey Stallions.
Oh, he's only been defeated on one delivery, that 6 to start the over, but otherwise he's winning this over in a big way. Continuing to challenge the outside edge. The only thing that's going wrong for him at the moment, Nikhil, is these shoelaces. What's going on here? Both spikes need to be redone over the course of this over. The only thing that seems to have bothered him so far, he continues to entice them with the flight, trying to find more wickets.
This time much shorter in length, and it gets through that point fielder, but will just be a single. They are keeping the pressure on and keeping the pressure on well. The New Jersey Stallions, another good over. 59 for 5.
My son, he's so soft-spoken. Everyone says he's so good-looking, and he never forgets to call.
Hi, Mom. Born for your true self. The 2022 Tundra. Toyota. Let's go places.
Whoever you are, on the field, the dream is what drives us. Gear up for your dreams. Shop now at dreamcricketstore.com.
Good to see fans in attendance slowly trickling in at Church Street Park because we've got a blockbuster day for you. Conference finals. The Stallions, winners of that Eastern Division, up against the Morrisville Raptors, team that plays at this very venue. Jesse Singh, he's captained his team extremely well to take 5 wickets inside the first 11 with 94 from 9. How do the Morrisville Raptors go about this run chase? They've lost 5 crucial wickets, 2 of them being Jacobus Pinar and Lahir Malanta, their 2 main run scorers. Got a bank on the youngsters, Aviram Bolisetti. Dane Pete, the captain, still to come as well.
Well, now that they've destroyed the top order, they've gone apace. See if the youngster can take this on.
Nino Henry into the attack, and probably expected. He can bowl those cutters into the surface. Has played first-class level this season for the Leeward Islands. Watch him in the Cool and Smooth T20 back in Antigua as well, captaining the new Wintrops Lions. It's been a good addition, replacing Jonathan Carter. And a good way to bolster that seam attack. In the air, and it's another one. Disappointment for Abiram Bolisetti. And it's Nino Henry making an impact straight away. The Morrisville Raptors have had 0 answers in this innings.
Well, it's a cutter. Paced off the ball, like you said, Nikhil. He just rolled his fingers over it. A leg cutter. Just sticks in the wicket a bit and produces a skewed drive to mid-off. They teased him into that shot with mid-off up in the ring. He thought that was his boundary option, trying to go over the top, and instead comes off the outer half of the bat, and a very easy catch for Davis on the ring. Abiram Bolisetti out for 12, and the Raptors spiral further south, 59 for 6 in the 12th.
The captain, Dane Pete, well, he's played a couple match-winning innings for his team, but he's got to play an absolute blinder for them to get home from here. 94 runs it is. And in this best of 3, you don't want to go down first, Peter De La Pena, because you face the issue of having to win 2 back-to-back games if you want to put yourself in the finals weekend.
Middle stump.
Dane Pete, 141 runs. The captain, new captain for the Morrisville Raptors this season. Well, he's got to continue to earn his mettle in situations like this. Starts with a short ball. You know, Henry hits the deck very hard. Henry.
Here's the replay again. You can just look at his wrist and the hand. It just rolls his hand over it, and that side rotation, you can see the cut on the ball. That's the leg cutter that Henry bowled, taking the pace off it, and just holds up a little bit. And that's what produces the miscued shot to mid-off.
Very effective when he hits the deck hard. Nino Henry, very hard to score from. I wonder, though, with that wicket falling, they would have identified this over as one they want to take down against the seam, pace on the ball. And that mid-off up in the circle has been excellent cat and mouse from Jesse Singh, who's just so far played this like a chess match. He's used the spinners well, used conditions extremely well, and then things like that. You have to be attacking when you just have 152 runs on the board. He did it from the very onset. It's worked in his favor. To take 6 wickets against a Raptors team that have won 5 out of 6 times chasing this season. You've got to finish the job off, though. This game of cricket never over until that very final delivery. Short delivery. These two know each other very well, both from the Leeward Islands. Colin Archibald and Nino Henry. Both of them spent some time in that Leeward Islands setup as well.
You were talking before about that cool T20 event in Antigua. A number of USA players went down there for that. Kareem Agor, a USA player who's also down there in Antigua. And Kenjige, Nastosh Kenjige, who was in the Dallas Mustangs squad, who Nikhil said their match has been rained out, their playoff encounter today against the Seattle Thunderbolts. But number of other players in the associate team. George Munsey from Scotland went down there as well for that event. Quite popular. Cool T20.
Yeah, the Cool and Smooth T20 in Antigua. And a good feeder system for some of the players before they get to the higher level. Much like the 2022 Toyota Minor League Cricket Championship, which has produced some fantastic finds over the 2 seasons. Mukamala won on screen. End of 12, 61 for 6. Well, it's been a continuous loss of wickets for the Morrisville Raptors, a team that chased so well at this very venue. But they have struggled today. They do have batting to come. Shivakumar Duvarapu, who's batted at 5 in this tournament, has stayed down. But both of these teams will be desperate to get a win in the very first game of the conference finals in the 2022 Toyota Minor League Cricket Championship presented by Sunoco. 6 options used, 4 of them, being spinners. And wickets for Ramratan, Daron, Davis, as well as Sachin Mailavarapu. For the first time today, Manoj Acharya, the leading wicket taker for the New Jersey Stallions. And you know you're doing something right when your leading wicket taker comes into the attack in the 13th over. He hasn't been needed. Can he continue to take wickets for his team? It was aerial for half a second. Just keeps it to 1. To Teja Mukumala.
This match right here, taking an eerily similar route to the second playoff match between Morrisville and the Stallions last year. This Toyota Minor League T20 Championship, when Morrisville side was 28 for 1 in the 3rd over before things collapsed. And again, this opportunity for the Stallions to go back to the finals weekend next weekend. This Toyota Minor League Championship presented by Sunoco.
Hasn't quite got it, Dane Pete. They want to. He's got to hurry, Colin Archibald. He's very quick. And able to get there pretty comfortably in the end. And they're going to come back for 3 as well. Sloppy fielding from the New Jersey Stallions. You don't want to let the Raptors back into this game. You've got to keep things tight. I just wonder, though, the decision to take Raymond Ramratan out of the attack after he was able to take the 2 wickets and just concede the 15 runs in his 2 overs to get seam from both ends. It's an interesting move by Jasdeep Singh. He's got to make up 4 overs of pace. Can Acharya get this wicket, break this partnership, and continue to put further doubt in the Morrisville Raptors? They are still the home team. They have chased extremely well this season. Another quick single taken. It was no surprise to me when Dane Pete won the toss and elected to bowl first. You look at over the 2 seasons here at Church Street Park, the Raptors have played 18 times at this venue, and they've won chasing 9 out of 13 times. So Dane Pete, the captain, is something that they like to do. Today, though, in some serious trouble. And if they're to get 87, they're going to have to go up 11.5 runs per over from here on in.
Again, they struggled mightily. It was a different squad, different composition, a lot of new faces in this team, but again, very similar to what happened last year in the playoffs between these 2 sides.
And another big difference was Rovman Powell, the West Indies vice captain. He was also here, outfitted for the New Jersey Stallions. Today, Anthony Bramble, and this season, Bramble's replaced him.
But the core players, Mukamala, Mailavarapu, Ramratan, Jesse Singh, the core players have basically remained the same for the Stallions, and they're the ones that are really driving this team. You saw Mukamala with a half century in the 1st innings. Mailavarapu, such a valuable spell with his left arm spin.
Excellent athleticism on display. You cannot keep this man out of the game. Daron Davis has just done it all with the bat, ball, and now in the field. Excellent to save a boundary.
Again, whether it's been Rovman Powell or Daron Davis, whose professional contributions have been exceptional for the Stallions when it's mattered most.
Straight to that fielder. So it will be just a single to end. A first over for Acharya that concedes 7. They'll take that at this stage with the asking rate gone past 12 and over now. 68 for 6.
And you can see where the worm is crawling very, very slowly. Not really wiggling too much here for the Raptors. since the end of the power play, the 6-over power play. Just one boundary. That straight 6 by Bolisetti. Otherwise, they really struggled to find the rope, and that's been the difference since that first 6-over sequence. The scores were level. Both teams made 36 runs in their first 6 overs, but the Stallions did a far better job of finding the boundary outside of that first 6-over power play. Just that 1-6 by Bolisetti in the 11th over. Nothing beyond that for the Raptors has really defined the struggle for them in this chase.
Nino Henry will bowl his second. Already picked up a wicket in his very first over, just conceded 2 runs. Full on the money again. He's come in replacing Jonathan Carter, who just played 1 game for the Stallions, took 4 wickets, the former West Indies player. Not sure why they only used Carter for 1 game, but when Nino Henry's come in so far for the New Jersey Stallions, he's been a proven wicket taker, picked up 11 wickets in the 6 games coming into this. And the economy rate has been impressive as well. Just 7, and he's bought a lot of overs inside the first 6, which tend to be expensive. An average of 14, it tells you how attacking of a bowler he's been. And you expect that from your first-class players that come in to the minor league. You want them to shine and do well. And he's been a big reason why the Stallions have been able to be in this position, fighting for a chance to go back to finals weekend for the 2nd year in a row.
And he's also picked up the slack left by Stephen Wigg, who was really, really outstanding last year as a pace option, left-arm pace option for the Stallions. Only played 6 games this year.
Pulled again, cutter into the surface. No real power for Dane Pete to extract. And singles aren't going to win the game from here on in because the asking rate has gone up to 13 runs. And you mentioned Stephen Wigg, Peter Della Pena. They've kept Stephen Wigg, who's dealt with injury. He's been out of the 11 today, left of screen.
Yeah, you can see him with the arm sleeves there, tan arm sleeves. He was their leading wicket taker last season, was outstanding, just hasn't been the same this year.
Also has had a difficulty with an injury, which has kept him out for about 70% of the season. So the fact, though, that he is healthy and knowing what he can achieve, that you have Henry and Acharya, it tells you how deep this Stallions bowling lineup is, that he is unable to get into the game. So tells you why this is one of the strongest teams in this 2022 Toyota Minor League Cricket Championship presented by Sunoco. Across the line, Dane Pete may have just kept down, stayed down. This is good bowling from Nino Henry.
Hey, it looked like some awfully good food that the Stallions players were chomping on as well, Nikhil. I might want to have a visit over there between innings. See if they've got anything left over for us.
Got to stay well nourished. The New Jersey Stallions. Maybe it's the key to their success. Constant nutrition and protein. If they could, I'm sure they'd be drinking some fuel from Sunoco, but of course, not recommended for human consumption. But it will power the Toyota Tundra, which you want to get your hands on. End of 14 overs, 72 for 6. These two have got to take the game deep, but they've got to do it quickly because the asking rate has gone past 13 runs per over. You think they'll need a Herculean effort from Colin Archibald, Dane Pete. Someone has got to put their hand up and play an innings similar to what Deron Davis was able to do with that 32 from just 15 deliveries. Tons of options being used. 7 now for the New Jersey Stallions. Their leading wicket taker, the most recent, Manoj Acharya, into his 2nd over.
Yeah, entered the day with 16 wickets. Raymond Ramratan has tied him, came into the day with 14 at 2 over first. Has equaled him. He's got 2 for 10 today. And talked about why they've taken him out of the attack. Well, at this stage, doesn't look like they'll need him. The Stallions way out in front. And again, no boundaries since the 11th over. That was the only boundary after the first 6-over power play. And And unless the Raptors get a tremendous power surge here in the last 5+ overs, they're going to be well behind the 8 ball heading into tonight's contest, the second match in this best-of-3 playoff series for the Toyota Minor League T20 Championship presented by Sunoco.
Just one down the ground. It's a good tactic and a good ploy from Manoj Acharya, forcing Colin Archibald to hit straight down the ground, to the biggest straight boundaries. And also on that length, very predictable, but very hard to score because he's got 4 Archibald, the 2 fielders back on that leg side boundary, as well as that cover sweeper now for Dane Pete. The third going, deep third going to the boundary. In the air, mid-off up in the circle, but doesn't carry to him, Jesse Singh. But he has got the run out, and the finger goes up. Miscommunication in the middle. And that is a big wicket. It could be the final nail in the coffin for the Morrisville Raptors.
Well, it should have been an easy single. And a lot of ball watching going on here, though. At this stage of the match, you've got to be running on that. And very, very sloppy from the Raptors. Very crisp, though, between Jesse Singh and Manoj Acharya to convert that opportunity when it opened up.
Colin Archibald dismissed as the Morrisville Raptors lose their 7th, 74 for 7. Well, a big wicket could be the final chance for the Morrisville Raptors as young Aditya Padala comes to the middle. The running between the wickets being the problem there for the Raptors. Ball watching going on. And in the end, the New Jersey Stallions well on top of things with just 152 runs on the board. You thought maybe at the halfway stage they were 10 to 15 runs short. But because of the plethora of spin options that they've got, they've been able to demand an authoritative position in this game. And what a win it would be to go 1-up in a 3-match series. Here's the running again. It was a misstrued one from Dane Pete. Ball watching and no, yes, no. Colin Archibald, no chance.
That was ball watching to the max.
Pretty much sums up the day for the Morrisville Raptors with the bat in hand, because from the very onset, where they took 14 runs from the first over, when they lost Milanta in the third, just seemed like they never were able to adjust. And remember, he's only contributed less than 25 runs now 3 times in the tournament. Lahir Milanta, it tells you how dependent they've been on him at the top of the order.
He's coming round the wicket. 2 more.
Nothing better than the 13, and of those 13 runs, they came off 12 of those 13 came off 3 consecutive deliveries in the first over. It's been all downhill since then, though, in this chase. That was the peak moment in that first over.
Well, it will be very tough for young Aditya Padala in this situation to have to strike the ball. They need at least 2 boundaries and over. 15 runs needed. Remember, this is the conference finals. And it will mean if the Morrisville Raptors go down here that they'll have to win 2 consecutive games. 1 tonight and 1 tomorrow to qualify for next weekend's final. Finals weekend, I should say. Down to 3rd. Just another single. End of 15 overs. 76 for 7.
1, 2, 3.
Beautiful, scenic, and picturesque Church Street Park. There's the tall trees in the distance. Pretty overcast day. Usually we get that heat at this venue. The wicket again, the run out in the last over. Dane Pete tried to clear that mid-off fielder, Jasdeep Singh. Unable to get to it, but did well to just get a decent throw into Manoj Acharya, who made no mistake and took the wicket of Colin Archibald, which you think could be the final nail in the coffin for the Raptors. Nino Henry back into the attack. Squeeze down to that deep third fielder. There are 2 fielders behind square. They get back for 2, but they're going to need boundaries to call the next 5 overs. A dejected looking Aman Patel. Come on, Aman, put a smile on your face. He's still got a chance. He's a hometown hero from North Carolina.
Yeah, not the day the Morrisville Raptors would have hoped for, but if you're the New Jersey Stallions, you're picking up where you left off last year, trying to get back into that conference final. They swept the Morrisville side last year, and a strong start into this first match in this best-of-3 series.
Yeah, been a dream start, and I thought, you know, we both thought Aman Patel at the close of that innings, they were maybe 10 to 15 runs short, but it tells you how much confidence that they have in their bowling attack. The fact that they could use 4 spinners and defend this total, wow, has it been mightily impressive.
You talked about it. Jesse Singh didn't bowl but the 1 over, and that's the big thing. Jesse Singh only 1 over, and he's primarily their strike bowler.
Played well by Padala, but again, should just be another single, which is not going to win you the game at this stage. I wonder how mentally, how much of a part does this play on the next game? You have a bit of time. 6 p.m. is the turnaround, so that will be under lights. How does Dane Pete then rally his men, much like Jesse Singh has done in this innings, to go and come again? Because the manner that they've been sort of dealt with in this innings, will you think take some toll mentally on their players, the Raptors?
Well, you have to imagine it will. We saw last year, after that initial loss on the Morrisville side, they just felt short. They felt gassed. And if you're Dane Pete, you have to find a way, just rally the troops in, because you still have an opportunity. You're at home. You're at Church Street Park. You're under lights, and they've won a lot of close games under lights here at Church Street. And Jesse Singh, you have to applaud what he's done. But if you're the Morrisville Raptors, you want that short memory. They say in other sports, say football, if you're a cornerback, you got to have a short memory. The same thing here for the Morrisville Raptors. Short memory, get this last game out of your head, and move forward and look for a win in match 2.
Another dot delivery. And even the move to bring Nino Henry in. At that stage, I thought maybe you could have persisted with the spinners, but he's showing the versatility in his attack. Jesse Singh, the fact that he could go to Henry, Acharya, and still keep a tight grip of proceedings. He'll be very happy coming back from international duty to lead his team the way that they've started. But you can't take anything for granted, because this is a Raptors team that is playing at home. Taken, and it's another one for the Stallions. Another one to the tally for Nicholas Nino Henry. And makes things go from bad to worse. Pretty much should do it to end the 16th.
This guy is a self-appointed captain.
Hey, take a look at this one. Nino Henry, so consistent on that length. Badala looked like he was trying to take it into the leg side, a leading edge, and just found Dominic Ricky, who you could see thought about the big celebration, but understands this match is well underway.
Padala just 4 for him. The score now 80 for the loss of 8 wickets.
You put me in front.
I put you. I tell this man, come on.
This man by the scorecard, I want him around and him around. To the right, he's going short into his body. The other ball gonna go straight.
5 minutes long, fellas. 5 minutes long. There we go. 5 minutes long. Bramble over. 5 minutes long. Only thing I tell you this game, come out the bum back. 5 minutes long, man.
So it brings Kartikeya Jagadish, the leg spinner, to the middle. And not really known for his batting exploits. You think they'll want to bat out the remaining 4 overs. Dane Pete, the captain, still there. And Manoj Acharya into the attack as well for his 3rd. Yeah, it's been a pretty lackluster performance with the bat in hand for the Morrisville Raptors. When you think about the way that they've gone about things in this tournament, Aman Patel, the way that they've chased totals as well. Dane Pete won the toss, remember, opted to bowl first. It's going to be a really disappointing display from their batters, who just couldn't attack against the spin. You have to give credit to the Stallions, though, the way that their bowlers utilized conditions at Church Street Park. Pete has got enough. Just had to wait to see if Paul Palmer could get a hand on it. But he finally gets one out the middle. Maybe a consolation prize at this stage.
Well, they'll take any prizes they can get, try to carry some momentum into the second match. Dane Pete stand and deliver that one. We've seen him play a couple of shots like that throughout the tournament. This one clearing Paul Palmer for 6 runs. Again, one of the few bright spots in a pretty lackluster day with the bat.
Much better from Acharya on that 4th stump line. You want to have your opposition batters scoring square of the wicket, even in the offside. It's much harder to hit those maximums at this stage. 18.57 runs per over needed. It's been a clinical performance from Jesse Singh and his men.
And I think that shows you just how good the Stallions bowling lineup is. We talked about it coming in.
Has he got it again? You bet he has. This time further. No question that's going for 6. And you never know. Could there be one last twist to the tail? Dane Pete is still there. And he's saying this game is still on.
Well, you heard a dejected Dane Pete after the 6. I think he's just realizing maybe just a touch too little, too late. It's a magnificent shot. Got it up on a length and able to free his arms through the line of the ball. Gets it straight back for 6. But again, he just looks a touch dejected out there.
Slower ball this time. And he squeezes it past point. More work to be done, and they can't do enough. 16 runs have come from the over in boundaries. 18 from the over in total, and still a delivery remaining.
Well, Dane Pete, he's such a smart cricketer. He knew that the ball was going to be closer onto the body. So what does he do? He just opens the face, gets it in between the gap, and suddenly some life now for Dane Pete, who's just turned things around. They needed this earlier on, and if he can find a couple of more boundaries, finish this over, and start the next one with it, could just be thinking this game might have another twist in the tail.
Well, 18 runs is exactly what they need per over. And he may just be telling his team, guys, you can get runs out here, showing his team that is you can get value for your shots. Does the smart thing, though, just gets one and will retain the strike. He's got to face the majority of the deliveries if they're to get close to 153. 99 for 8, 19 from the over.
The batting card has been a somber tale for the Morrisville Raptors. Lihiru Malanta just 13 from 19, and then, 13 from 9. Vinod Kandaswamy 13 from 19. Rohan Fudke showed 1 shot over extra cover before being undone. And then a bunch of low scores, Obis PNR, Matthew Ford, Colin Archibald, Abhiram Bolasetti. But Dane Pete's in, so can Dane Pete deliver something? You see that's the biggest over of the lot. You saw that late spike. Again, you just feel a little bit too little, too late, but 54 from 3. We've seen crazy things in the game of cricket. Does Dane Pete have one more in store?
Last 2 overs, they've got to ensure they close this game out well. The New Jersey Stallions. 54 needed from 3 overs. Henry again. Has pummeled it down the ground, but this time mid-off goes back to that long-off position in the last 5 overs in the closing stages. 5 outside the circle. He has the long-off, long-on. 2 in the onside for Dane Pete. The 2 sweepers on that leg side boundary, and then the 1 in the offside. Pretty standard for Nino Henry, who bowls that hard length, bowls into the pitch.
And that consistency is why he's had so much success and why he's kept the Raptors down, not allowing them to accelerate.
Just two singles. And he does tend to hold the balls cross seam. Nino Henry gets a bit of extra bounce. Do get that variable bounce as well. See, side of the hand, so has used these well. But then, of course, the line gets it wrong on that occasion. And you will feel some added pressure bowling to Dane Pete. 29 from 19. What Dane Pete's been able to achieve with the bat in hand this year, deserves a lot of credit. That innings he played against the Atlanta Lightning at the Atlanta Cricket Fields to win the game for his team has been a unsung hero for his Raptors at times.
Not forgetting the New Jersey Somerset Cavaliers matchup, where he's able to squeeze a couple behind point and then push one straight back down the ground to win off the final delivery.
Has connected well with that. He wants to. They're going to have to hurry, though, because he's hit it really well. Going to the danger end. Anthony Bramble picks up, hits a stump, but the bail does not fall off. I wonder, was he home? Dane Pete.
Well, let's just have another look at this. Again, the throw comes in from Dominic Rickey. Dane Pete has a long way to go, and he looked home in the end anyway. The bail didn't fall. But I think even if it had, I think Dane Pete was well inside his mark.
That is something in cricket that I just can't understand. Anthony Bramble threw that ball powerfully to the stumps. Those bails just didn't come out the groove.
A little bit heavier than those normal stumps, these zing bails and zing stumps.
Such a crazy moment in this game. Anthony Bramble trying to dismiss Dane Pete. The throw was wide, and it hits the stumps powerfully, but does not dislodge the bail. Jagadish gets Dane Pete back on strike. They're going to have to finish in a big way, the Morrisville Raptors, because they've only taken 7 out the over in this Minor League Cricket Championship presented by Sunoco. And wow, have they fueled this innings well. The New Jersey Stallions fueled their bowlers, their seamers. They look fresh. Of course, not to mention the contributions of Daffy News. Not to forget Daffy News and Toyota, because what they've been able to do to help bring you this premium coverage at home has been magnificent. End of 18, 107 for 8. It's going to be a mountain to climb from here for the Morrisville Raptors, who just continuously lost wickets in this innings. At the halfway stage, they would have fancied their chances to just score over 7 runs and over, getting that 153. But after they lost some 3 wickets, 2 wickets inside the power play, just never able to rebound. 36 for 2 after 6 overs. They lost 3 wickets between overs 5 to 10. News from the other game, other conference final in the the Atlantic Conference. The Atlanta Fire winning by Duckworth Lewis, 19 runs to go 1-up against the Manhattan Yorkers. A crucial win for them. So we've already seen one team who've topped the table, the group winners from the Southern Division, win. Can the New Jersey Stallions continue that trend? Jesse Singh, the captain, back into the attack. Goes length and very hard to score, especially when you have to score 23 runs and over. It's the right option.
I think this is brilliant also for the New Jersey Stallions. Jesse Singh, this will be his 2nd over. And usually, you know, coming into the day, I was thinking, will he be able to go back-to-back? Will he be able to bowl 4 overs in consistent matches? Now you don't have to, because of how good and how well-rounded this bowling lineup is. You get to use Jesse Singh in the 2nd match and use his exploits up top the order.
It's a fantastic point, and I also felt Jesse Singh maybe could have gotten away with 1 or 2 more overs from his spinners. Maybe a Sachin Mailavarapu, who only bowled 3 overs. Ramaram Ratan, just 2. Daron Davis, 3. And I say that because when the Jew comes into play in the night fixture, 6 o'clock again between these 2 teams, it's always tougher to grip that ball with Jew. So you wonder if the spinners, how much of a part they will have to play. That's why you want to keep your seamers fresh. So even though Manoj Acharya has only bowled 3 overs, Jesse Singh has only bowled 2 now in his 2nd. Nino Henry's bowled his quota of 4. So because he's got so many different options to go to, so many spin options, he has allowed him to keep his bowlers relatively fresh. I wonder though, with so many spinners on display, how crucial will they be tonight at 6 p.m.? We do get Drew at this venue, Church Street Park, Alan Patel.
And I think that's also something, if you're Dane Pete, that's something you say. You say, look, Preet Shah, Sachamala Varapu, they might not have the same impact. They're not going to be able to grip the ball if they have to bowl in that second innings. So this is something you got to carry into here at Church Street Park. Still cloud cover as the sun starts to peek out. But again, it should be an interesting battle, that second match. I don't think it's going to be a carbon copy of what we've seen here in match number 1 of this best of 3.
In the air, there is that deep wicket fielder, but it's wide, and it will be excellently stopped on that boundary. Stephen Wigg, the sub fielder, on the field. I thought it was stopped. It was a good effort, but in the end, unable to pull it back. So maybe just a consolation prize for the Morrisville Raptors.
Yes, and confidence for Karthikeya Jagadish. Doesn't have much under his belt with the bat. And you can see he stopped it there, flipped it back, but I think there's a little bit of backspin on the ball. Couldn't keep it inside.
Glorious over extra cover from Karthikeya Jagadish. And the low order for the Morrisville Raptors will be sending a message to their top order batters and saying, guys, more application needed, because runs are available to get.
Yeah, again, he just was able to lunge into this one, but touch over pitch from Jesse Singh, and Karthikeya Jagadish, given a chance to free up his hands, does so quite well.
Just one. Out the middle, but straight to the man. He's hit it too well. Karthikeya Jagadish, and Paul Palmer, as he so often does on that long on boundary, does extremely well to take the catch. And the Raptors will lose their 9th.
Yeah, you can see it here. Karthikeya Jagadish just trying to swing through the line. Does so, and he did get it out the middle. But Paul Palmer, he's been so safe out in the deep. He's taken a couple really nice catches. Thinking about the catch of also Obis PNR. Made that one look ever so simple. And that'll be the 9th wicket to fall for the Morrisville Raptors.
Jagadish gone for 11. The Raptors 118 for 9. Just 1 over remaining in the contest. The final wicket for the Morrisville Raptors, Shivakumar Duvarapu. And clearly, I think something's happened in terms of Duvarapu. He may have sustained an injury, because he usually bats at number 5 for this team. Today coming in at number 11 as the last man. So let's hope he's okay. Clearly, he's in some sort of discomfort.
And the Morrisville Raptors will be hoping he'll be okay and be able to bowl in that second match again. Ever so crucial. They want to force a match on Sunday. The Stallions were able to win tonight. Then they wouldn't be back here tomorrow. So the Raptors just trying and hoping that Shivakumar Duvarapu, not only with the ball but with the bat, will be able to be used tonight.
Pete, scintillating from the captain. You just think these shots on display could have been a bit earlier. 29 needed from 5 deliveries. They'll be disappointed the way that they're ending this innings, the Raptors.
And you saw the shake of the head at the end, and he's saying, couldn't these shots find the bat just 3 overs ago? Had it, could have been a little bit of a different tale. And Dane Pete just looking to carry some momentum into that second match. But again, he's just wishing he had 3 more overs to spare here. Wishing this could have came 3 overs earlier. We mentioned Stephen Wigg a little bit ago, Nikhil. He's also another member of this bowling attack who could be utilized in match number 2. He didn't play in this first innings, and we know his class. He was a big part of the reason they were in the finals last year. And to have him still in the dugout that can come in for one of these guys is a huge win for the New Jersey Stallions.
So 29 more needed. He's got to hit 5 sixes to win this game, Dane Pete. And it will be a dot. So the game pretty much done and dusted. Full at the stumps, another dot. But I think it will really concern Dane Pete because the captain, obviously he'll be very happy with the innings he's played to give him that momentum to go into match number 2. But he would have expected a bit more from his top order. They lost 5 wickets for just 38 runs. And they can take some solace away from the fact that they finished the innings off powerfully. And speaking of power, well, that is the perfect description. Nothing else needed, nothing else needed to be said. Dane Pete putting on a show here late at Church Street Park.
Well, you heard him say length on the stump mic right before this delivery, and he just waited for the one on a length. He got onto it early, sends it over the side screen, and again, giving something to cheer for if you're a Raptors fan. Again, trying to bring some momentum into that second match later today. And then he's just wishing he could have had some of these shots come just 2-3 overs earlier.
Aman Patel, they were 76 after 15 overs. All of a sudden, since they've put on 54 runs and still 2 deliveries remaining in the innings. Had they just had maybe someone from the top order put their hand up, show a bit more responsibility. They obviously were plagued with the injury of Shivakumar Duvarapu, who's coming at number 11. But you just sense one contribution needed. A couple of passages of play where Abhiram Bolisetti tried to take on Nino Henry, was caught. They're playing a couple of big shots, which you wonder could have been saved, could have been measured. Wow. Just wow from the captain, Dane Pete, because this is a seriously good innings from him at his home venue, Church Street Park. The captain leading his team from the front as he goes to 50. But you can see the disappointment on his face because he knows his team is going to come up short.
Yeah, he got onto a length again, and this one may be bigger than the rest, maybe even better. But again, he just raises up the thumb, just disappointed, just wishing this could have came a couple of overs earlier. He's dejected because he's saying, if anyone, as you mentioned, up top the order scores 10 more runs, this is a match that we are able to get on the right side of.
And it could have just been a case of impatience. You look at their top order, they batted and got starts, a couple of them. 3 out of the top 5 faced more than 10 deliveries, but just got a bit impatient. It will be a win. And what a win it is for the New Jersey Stallions, who put runs on the board. It is not a tie. It is a win for the Stallions by some 16 runs. And it's been a clinical performance. First to get up to that par total of 152 on a tough surface to bat on, tough to face against spin. Using 4 of their spinners, Jesse Singh will be very happy with the way his team has gone about things and the way that he's led his troops in the very first game. Of course, the Southern Division runners-up up against the winners, the Stallions of the Eastern Division. What a way to start.
What a way to start indeed. They were clinical, again with the bat. Didn't have the start they were looking for, but Dominic Rickey, he was able to put up a performance. Saiteja was able to score, and they said, okay, only 153 on the board. But Jesse Singh, he knew exactly the numbers to click and clicked all the right ones, and just a clinical performance with ball in hand for the New Jersey Stallions.
This game and series far from over. You've got to win 2 to go on to the finals weekend, but the Stallions will, at this stage, be favorites to repeat. Their team that, of course, went to the finals weekend right here in North Carolina last year, I should say. In 2021, they finished runners-up. And what a start. What a bowling display from Singh and his options, because they just exhibited so much energy to restrict a very powerful Morrisville Raptors team to just 136. And that's the point I was making. A couple of their batters got start. They spent time out there in the middle. 13 deliveries for Bolisetti, 19 for Kandaswamy, but it was all about the 50 from just 30 deliveries for Dane Pete. He'll be disappointed that no one else was able to put their hand up with anything substantial.
If the top order is able to come up with 10 more runs, it's a different match we're talking about, but let's not take any credit away from the New Jersey Stallions and what they did with the ball. Jesse Singh, realizing it wasn't his day to perform with the ball, did take a wicket in his 2 overs for 25, but it's the spinners. Preet Shah, 2 overs, 12 runs. Sachin Milavarapu, he's always amongst the wickets. 3 overs, 9 runs and a wicket. Davis Daron, 3 overs, 13 runs and 2. Raymond Ranraten, 2 overs, 10 runs and 2 wickets. And then bringing back the medium pace of Nino Henry with 2 wickets, and Manoj Acharya got hit for a bit, but he trusted the pace and they bowled well.
An excellent display of cricket from the New Jersey Stallions. First to fight their way to 150. Power from Daron Davis to close the innings off. And then, with the ball in hand, very clinical, 2 apiece for Daron, Ram Ratan, and Nino Henry, who all close out the innings well. Just a 50 from the captain of the Morrisville Raptors, Dane Peat. But it means that the Raptors have got to go in to this evening's game down 1 love. This was the start of the innings. 12 runs came from the very first over, and you thought the Morrisville Raptors, it would be regularly scheduled programming when they've chased at this ground. They've been so hard to beat. They've chased 13 times at Church Street Park in the 2 seasons, and they've won 9 times. But Lahira Malanta, that was the first setback. An easy catch for Jesse Singh, and Sachin Mailaparapu making the difference. Vinod Kumar Kendasamy played a couple of good strokes into the onside. Ron Fatke brought in the team today to play at number 3. Played a couple of good strokes, got a boundary. But then, the man who's done it all with the bat and then with the ball, Daron Davis, couple of wickets in succession. 1 leg before, 1 caught at long on. Jacob Espinard, this was the big fish, the big strike. Looking to take on Raymond Ramratan. They had a few tight overs. Caught at long on. Paul Palmer made no mistake. And Matthew Ford in the same over fell. Excellent diving catch from Raymond Ramratan. And at 44 for 5, it was always going to be an uphill task to get home from there. Nino Henry straight away into the attack made a difference, going hard length. And Abhiram Boliseti trying to take on that mid-off fielder. Dane Peat, the captain, was the only standout. Some ball watching from him and Colin Archibald meant that Archibald was dismissed by the run-out. And then an easy catch extra cover for Dominic Rickey to give Nino Henry his 2nd over. But the Dane Peat show then begun. 53 from 30 for Dane Peat, the captain. 5 maximums, he struck at 176. And he'll be even more disappointed with the fact that they just had 1 contribution from their top order. Could have easily been a different game and a different result. Karthikeya Jagadish played a couple of good strikes as well. A couple of pulls into the onside. This one, he did get into the boundary. And then went through the offside, the very next delivery. But had to be dismissed and just did not nail any partnerships, where we saw complete opposite from the Stallions, where they were able to get a 7-2 2-run 3rd wicket partnership from the top order. Dane Peat, though, in the last over, helping the Raptors to score 60 runs in the last 5, but just too much to be done at the back end of the innings. And Manoj Acharya, even though he went the distance, that was the maximum to bring up the 50 for Dane Peat. It would not be good enough. Because in the end, just too many runs to get for the Morrisville Raptors. Winning this one, the New Jersey Stallions by 16 runs, restricting the Raptors, a team so good at chasing at this venue, to just 136. An excellent display, an excellent all-round display from the New Jersey Stallions. The winners, of course, of that Eastern Division. And next to me, straight from international duty, 18-year-old Sateja Mukamala, 53 from 41 deliveries. First of all, Sateja, what a comeback for you, just straight from Aberdeen, Scotland. What has that journey been like, dealing with the time difference and just coming straight back into the cricket?
Well, I think the time difference is not that much, so I felt pretty relaxed. You know, it was nice playing in Scotland. Got to learn from a lot of the internationals, and especially from the Scotland side and our side as well. You know, they were batting pretty well, and I just took notes, and and I just used it in today's game.
Tell me about, Sateja, the conditions out in the middle. We've seen a lot of spin being used by both teams, and clearly you guys used a lot of spinners to strangle the Raptors. How are conditions in terms of difficulty?
Yeah, it rained last night, and I think the wicket was under covers for the most of it. So at the start, it was really turning, and it was really dry, and the ball was turning a lot. Not much for the Pacers, but for spin, if you keep it in the right areas, I think it's tough to score.
A 72-run partnership put on by you and Dominic Rickey at the top of the order. What was the plan between you two? Because you were only going at 6 runs and over, but you ensured that you built a platform for your team and the likes of Daron Davis to come and finish the innings off.
Yeah, we knew that 140, 150 would be a good wicket on the score, especially we analyzed after the first couple overs and decided how much we needed to get. And then me and Dom just tried to work it out, and maybe at 10 overs, try to get 65. And then from there, we start accelerating, and then Daron came in, and, I think that was the match-changing innings.
Tell me about this half century for you. What does it do for your confidence? Your strike rate was 129. It's a big step up from your 99 in terms of the season. How much has that been a focus of your game?
Yeah, I think on this it's much better ground, so I'm able to play my natural game playing on the ground. Usually back in Jersey, the heavy outfields force me to play in the air. But here, I really like this ground, and I'm able to play my game, so it's nice.
Tell me, finally, what does this win do for the confidence of you guys going into this evening's match?
I mean, it's very great. I mean, I think we won pretty comfortably, except the last over maybe gave a bit. But, I think we're really confident in our skills. And, I back all our players. We're all really talented, and we put the work in before this. So,
18 years old, Sateja Mukamala, heaps of talent. Congrats to you on your great performance, and we look forward to seeing what you can do in the next game as well.
Yeah, thank you.
Young Sateja Mukamala winning the game for his team with that half century, a 72-run partnership, and it means that the New Jersey Stallions, the runners-up in 2021, go 1 love up in a similar position against the Morrisville Raptors. But game 2, right around the corner, because it's under lights. We're expected to have a packed crowd in, and at 6 p.m. Eastern time, we will have match number 2, where the Stallions will be looking to win and close out things at Church Street Park. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a real pleasure to continue to bring you the action in this 2022 Toyota Minor League Cricket Championship. We will see you soon. It's bye for now.
You're watching the Toyota Minor League Cricket Championship, presented by Sunoco.